What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the SuperScope podcast. It is your host, the Retro Game Dude. I apologize. I didn't expect to get rated in the middle of an intro. I'm not even ready for the show yet. I don't even have Daisuke up yet, but let's get rolling here.
I am here in some capacity.
All right, he is here. I
Don't worry.
promise.
It's a me.
All right, let's pop you out. There he is.
Please,
Ah,
please look forward to it.
I do appreciate the raid. No, it's okay. I'm very grateful. Thank you very much for the raid. I appreciate it. Everyone, welcome. This is our Sunday podcast that we do. It's all gaming news. You guys are welcome to hang out as we bitch and moan about the gaming industry. And if you want us to talk about anything or have anything to throw in, feel free. Um, so let me get back to the intro here. What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Super Scope podcast. You wrap up in this week's biggest gaming stories, leaks, and rumors. We're back with episode 36 on Sunday, July 10th. I am your host, Retro Game Dude. Of course, joining me as always is my co-host, Daisuke Aurora of Phoenix Aurora Gaming. Feel free to join in the discussion, guys, and chat. Of course, we're live on Twitch and on Discord. If you are watching this on YouTube, tap the like and subscribe button. That does help us tremendously. And let us know what you want us to talk about in the comments, and let us know if we missed anything. You can also find the audio version of this on Stitcher and Spotify and Google Podcasts. So welcome back. It's been a while. I've been out with the COVID, so we had a couple weeks off of the stream. You went on vacation anyway, so it all worked out. Me getting sick with
Yep.
possible life-threatening diseases all worked out. So
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that for me.
yeah, no problem. I was like, well, Daisuke's away. I might as well get fucking sick. COVID
Right.
sucks. I'll throw that out there. So I don't recommend it. I'm just now getting my smell and taste back, and it's not great.
That's almost every single person I know who's had it has lost like senses like that, like especially taste has been the
Mhm.
big one. And I don't know. I mean, I haven't looked into it very much. I didn't catch it. Alicia caught it once and then got over it, and
Mm.
then um I've just seen a lot of like long COVID stuff cropping up. People saying they're still dealing with issues from it.
Sure.
It like damages your lungs permanently when you get that period of time where it's really hard to breathe and everything, and your lungs are like crusting with that garbage. It actually damages the cells permanently after that,
Yeah, I feel it,
and
man.
like
It sucks.
that never comes back. I guess.
Right.
Not looking forward to that.
Yeah, like feeling winded, like getting a box of cat litter today kind of sucked, but that's my life
Right.
now. So
Well, and that's the thing. It's crazy. Is like we're going into a new variant that's more infectious than all the ones we've had so far, and it
wonderful.
still has the same long COVID symptoms. So it's like, but we're not even 2 years ago. This was like masks, 6 feet apart, blah
Hmm.
blah blah blah, and now it's like, I mean, I live in Florida, so like if I walk outside with a mask on, people are gonna be like, "What's the mask for?" I'm gonna be like,
You're gonna get
"The
stoned to
biggest
death down there. It's
biggest spike of COVID we've had in the last 2 years, but
yeah. The
of the
news
most
just,
infectious variant."
no one's choosing to talk about it, so
Hmm.
it's amazing. So
Fun.
yeah, the only thing that really sucked about COVID was like the random symptoms you would get like after the fact. And it's like the one Thursday, like the day before I was actually gonna go back to work, I felt fine, and like the next day, I couldn't fucking breathe. I had a panic attack because I just felt like I wasn't getting enough oxygen, and then I went to
Oh
work on
yeah,
top of it, and everyone was like, "Are you sure you should be here?" I'm like, "Probably not." I was like, "I'll tough it
dude. I
out," and then I left early anyway.
I think like um what was it? Alicia got it, and she had like, because she was like sort of asthmatic where like she didn't need anything for it, but like if we like
Hmm.
went on long hikes or stuff, she would have like an inhaler just in case. And like she spent like a week like being like basically unable to breathe. A couple weeks after COVID went away, she just had like these weird like, I can't breathe today. It's too hot in here. It's too
Yeah.
stuffy in here. And it wasn't like, oh, I'm uncomfortable. It was like she would like almost like hyperventilate and have to have her inhaler. And
Yep.
it just hits her at random. And I don't think it's gone away yet. It seems like it's just a thing that happens to her now that sucks. That
Yeah.
happens.
I can't be out in like
I know.
humidity. I
Mm-hmm.
can't breathe in it. It's fucked up. So yeah,
That's wild.
0 out of 10. Do not recommend.
Do not recommend. 1 star on Yelp.
Yeah, facts.
0.4. Not as bad as Diablo Immortal, but Very close.
Hey, we'll be talking about Diablo Immortal. That is for sure.
Sorry, I'm trying. I was Daimyo texted me off on the side over here, and he's like, "I bought a pack of Magic cards." He bought a collector booster of Double Masters. I don't know if you've seen the new Double Master set.
I don't even know what to
Um,
buy anymore because it's so confusing when you go into the wall of cards and it's like, this is Commander, this is Challenge, and this is
yep,
this. I'm
that
like, I
exactly.
don't know what the fuck to do.
So
It's like the Destiny of card
double,
games right now.
yeah. Oh, dude, absolutely. That's a good comparison. Double Masters is a reprint set, so everything in
Uh-huh.
Double Masters is like reprints, pretty much, or most of it is,
Okay.
and it's cards that they're only legal in whatever set they were originally printed in. So
I'm guessing these are
pretty much
more
everything.
targeted for Commander.
It's more targeted for like Commander or the older
Okay.
formats because a lot of these cards are older cards
Hmm.
that you can't play in Standard. You can't play them in at your Friday night tournaments, like unless you're doing Commander, maybe.
Sure.
But Daniel sent me a message and he bought a pack. And mind you, normal collector boosters are like $25.
Jesus.
Premium ones are usually closer to like the $40 mark. And so what they're doing is this is a set called Double Masters, where in Double Masters the packs have double the rares, double the mythics, whatever would normally be in it. It's like double the rarity of cards, but double
Hmm.
the price. So like he's like, I bought this thing for like $80, and it's one pack of cards, right? It's literally a single pack of like 15 cards. Um,
Wow.
you just
They
you just have
are
to hope you get hit on it, you know, because that's where you get the special art versions, the foils, the full arts, whatever, the pretty stuff.
okay.
Um, and he was like, I figured why not, and I tried one, and he doubled up on it, which is crazy. He got a Mana Drain and a Cavern of Souls, which
Hmm.
they added. Those two together is well over like the $200 or something that it would be to double up on that
No
$80 price
shit.
tag. He hit the lottery with that.
Yeah.
I don't know if you ever recognize if you've seen those cards. Mana Drain is like an easy $50. It's like you remember the card Counterspell?
Hmm. Oh, of course.
It's it's literally Counterspell, except at the start of your next main phase, you
Hmm.
get colorless mana equal to the spell's mana cost of what you countered. So not only is it a counterspell for 2 mana that eats their spell, if they paid like 5 mana for their spell, then during your next main phase, you just get 5 colorless to do whatever you want with. So it's an absurdly powerful counterspell. Um,
Do I know what Counterspell is? Don't quote that old magic to me. I was there when it was
yeah,
written.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just it's such a crazy. Everyone's always like, yeah, counterspell's too strong for most formats, and it's like, have you seen Mana Drain? It's counterspell plus like up to like 2 to 10 free mana.
Yeah.
But okay. And then Cavern of Souls is like you pick a creature type, and then whenever you cast a creature of that type, that creature can't be countered, I believe,
Hmm.
which is super good in old formats where you play like all elves or something, and then you're like turn one, you're just like Cavern, elf, and they're like, oh, I can't do anything about that or whatever. So it's also worth a lot of money and is a very played card.
That's
I didn't
wild.
derail you on Magic cards. I just Daniel was like, he just was like, hey, look at this, and he basically sent me a winning lottery ticket in Magic terms, and I was like, dude,
That's hey,
wild.
well, it's gaming podcast, man. Cards are games.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm here for it. Um,
Um,
God,
so yeah, that was cool.
very nice.
I'm telling him now. He was like, Dom said I should probably sell while they're up, and I'm like, definitely do that because the prices are going down. Once people start cracking packs and the pre-order hype is going away, a
Hmm.
lot of prices tank because
I
they're showing up in the wild. You know what I mean?
I actually just got charged, so I usually ignore those special Magic the Gathering things that they do.
Yeah.
Hopefully, this clearing the throat thing is not going to be a theme through the night. Um, and I ordered those Vaporwave lands, and I
Yep.
finally got the charge for it, so it looks like they're going to be on their way
Okay.
soon. So
Hmm.
glad to see it. I'm never going to use them. It's just shelf candy.
Yeah, for sure.
But I like the theme of it, so I'm there for it. All right, so let's get into the state of the stream.
Yeah.
So just to recap, we did our first Jackbox stream last night. You were absent, unbelievable.
I know.
No, we had a good time. We had a good turnout, so it was nice to see. We had a lot of new faces and a lot of old faces as well. So it was good to see that. And I don't know if we made an announcement on the podcast, but Lovey Ray Jinx is now a new mod for Discord and Twitch.
Mhm.
She kind of showed up right after we had an exodus of another mod, and she kind of filled the ranks and filled the roles real quick. I mean, she seemed to kind of really like jive with us like from the very beginning. So
Yeah.
definitely great to have her as part of the community. So if you see Lovey Ray Jinx in the chat at some point tonight or in any stream, make sure you say hey. So
Yeah.
And then just to recap too, we will be back this week, Tuesday and Wednesday, probably with some Ninja Turtles. If anyone's interested, it's a 6-player co-op, and I'm here for it. So I don't know if anyone else is interested, but I'll put some feelers out in the Discord if anyone else wants to play it again. I kind of want to go through and play at least with each character once, just to kind of unlock that achievement, and then go from there.
Yeah. What's happening in your background
That's the
behind
Yuya.
you? That
Remember?
I'm not gonna lie, it looks like a dreidel console from here.
A dreidel console? Nice. Evan.pro,
Like,
thank you for the follow.
you put it like a stick in the top and you could spin it, it'd be like the dreidel console.
You never saw the Yuya? Oh, yeah, I guess I can't figure
No,
out which way to go. Oh my god.
I did, but like when I was at GameStop, this is one of the things that we were taking pre-orders on and stuff.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, they were.
They'll fucking take a pre-order at anything.
I was gonna say it was one of those like not Halloween, holiday shelf filler kind of things that they would take pre-orders on. Like
Yeah.
every time around Christmas we'd get these weird like 100 games in one, and it's like a junky little, almost like a McDonald's toy, but it has 100 games on it, and they're all just like junk games, and you're like, okay, cool.
I have like an inappropriate affection for those things.
Yeah.
Like I shouldn't love them, but like something about them is appealing to me. I have never bought one, but it's like someone got me one that's like that, but it's just Dig Dug on like a little arcade. It's like you can put it in your wallet,
cool.
but yeah, those 101 like shitty games that no one's ever heard of, like just Chinese shovelware.
Yeah, it was basically like what do you call it? Like one of those, what are they? They have a little Android box, you can get Android games on it, except for instead of being that with actual games from like the Android market, it's just like weird stuff you've never heard of.
Balloon Pop.
And it's like from like foreign countries. Those are fun ones you find.
Grass Touch Simulator.
Oh my god.
Is it my camera that's doing that? I think that's your end. It keeps popping in and out.
Oh yeah, what's up with that?
I don't know. What's up with that?
I don't know. Well, got my camera up.
In my downtime and duress, I got to play a bunch of games, so we'll talk about that.
There you
go. Obviously, we've been hammered away at the Final Fantasy 14, playing Red Mage now, and I'm having a blast with it. So,
it's a fun job.
It definitely is. I have Sage next, which I kind of got a little taste of it. Not a fan so far.
Yeah,
but
we can look at that at some point, because I think Sage feels really good once it clicks, and I think it feels like very panicky when it hasn't clicked yet. Because I know when I first started Sage, Dark started it before I did by like a day. And the next day I got on, and Dark was like, "Oh yeah, once you get into it, it's easy. You don't have any problems." And I felt like I was floundering on Sage at first, because I'm like throwing heals at the dude, and there's not a lot of healing going on. And I'm like, "Oh, this does not feel like I'm used to like Astro on shield and regen." And I was like, so I had an idea about shielding, but like it was not the same. Because Astro has ED, and you get 2 charges, so you can just like heal someone if you're in a panic spot, and you don't really have that on Sage. Like your best panic heal on Sage is like the laser attack paired with like the one that makes your next heal do 50% more.
Sure.
And that's obviously a lot more complicated than just like being on White Mage and being like, oh yeah, benediction, and they fix it.
Right.
So it takes a little getting used to, but I think once you get into it, it's great. I had a lot of fun with it.
I did like one of those duties where it's like, I don't know what's up with your camera. It is not having a good time.
Yeah, hang on, let me try and figure. On my end, I'm noticing in Discord on my end, it says stream paused. It keeps happening. So maybe it's.
But I was trying to heal through Stone Vigil. I did like a computer dungeon first, and I was like, all right, well, I kind of get the hang of this. And then we ran through Stone Vigil, and that tank was real low, and I just panic smashed all the buttons, and like he just healed up at the top again. I'm like, oh, I don't know what I did, but I'm glad he's not dead, because I just don't want to take the brunt for it. I did forewarn him.
Right.
And that's the good thing about the community. It really seems like if you do forewarn people, like, hey, first time healing, they're like, it's cool. But
yeah, or like I'm rusty.
Right.
Here, let me drop my camera and reopen it, because, on Discord.
Yeah, no problem.
Because it still was popping up with like a stream paused every couple seconds.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there. But I got a chance to play Sonic Origins. Obviously, that has some problems. We watched it we watched the video last night, kind of breaking down the glitch issues and stuff with the game.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like what's a good way to put this? Um, it's
Not
the Dragon Ball
polished.
evolution of Sonic games, where like if you've played the previous Sonic games or if you've played the previous versions of Sonic Origins games, you're
Hmm.
not going to be very thrilled about them. But if you've just never played them at all, they're fine.
Sure.
Because like Dragon Ball Evolution was one of those movies where it's like if you just watch Dragon Ball Evolution and you've never watched anything Dragon Ball related, it's fine. It's
Standalone
not
is
a great
fine.
movie, but it's just a normal movie.
If you don't
But
know
like if
any
you've
of the lore or
watched
background story, it's a great movie.
right, but then when you actually have watched Dragon Ball, you're like, that's not how that works. That doesn't make sense. Why is that person there like that? That does not how that works. Like
Right.
at one point, Goku like in the movie was just like, I am the Ozaru. I get it, and then he like transforms like willingly, and it's like, oh, that's not how that works. None of that makes that happen like that. I don't. I just remember that there was a lot of like shaking my head at the movie and being like, the source material was right there, guys.
Oh
Like,
no. But yeah, I forgot I played it. I forgot how much I didn't like Sonic CD. That is just like such a
yeah.
horribly designed Sonic. And it was just like, oh, we have a slightly powerful system, so we have like 4 times the amount of colors. We're just going to use all the colors in all the levels. And it was like, it just looked like animated puke on every level.
Oh
So
no.
it was just a mess.
Yeah. I
But
never played CD, so I couldn't tell you about that.
you could honestly, first time playing it, you could probably get through like 2 to 3 hours, not even. Um,
Yeah. Huh.
but the other ones were good. I didn't really get to dig in too deep as far as like playing other characters. The only thing that sucks is like mission mode, which is like you play from Sonic 1 all the way through Sonic and Knuckles in one shot. Cool
Hmm.
concept, but they stick you with like Tails and you can't turn it off. So it's like Tails is like a detriment, and then he gets like stuck off the screen, and we saw those glitches too, where he doesn't know to
Hmm.
come back to you, so he just you hear him jump, 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 and it's like, oh, yeah, that's terrible. It's annoying
Yeah.
as shit. So but the special stage in Sonic 2 they updated. It looks really clean. That was like a big plus for me. It's like 1080p. They redid the whole levels like from scratch, so it's not like frame by frame. There's a lot of actual 3D there and not just like 2D sprites. Um, so I would definitely, if you're a Sonic 2 fan and you like those levels, it's nice because it's 60 frames a second, smooth, and it's not like the old Sonic where it's just kind of really jumpy because of the frame rates and stuff, and the system limitations just aren't there. So definitely check that
That's
out.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So of course we're playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. If you at home tuned into any of those streams, we're having a good time with that. That's a really fun game. Um,
Oh yeah.
Game of the year contender, and I will die on that hill. I don't know if
That's
it's
fair.
going to take down Elden Ring because obviously Elden Ring has a lot of fans. I guess it has a huge fan base, and it has a huge fan base that are reviewers.
Right.
So I
I
think,
think I think the thing too, a lot of people like Elden Ring had like everybody tried it or most people tried it, but
mhm,
I know also a lot of people didn't really actually like it once they got their claws into it. A lot of people were
sure,
like, and that's fine. Souls games are not for everyone. This was the case of like I don't know. It had the same feeling of like Among Us, where it blew up all of a sudden like crazy. Like everybody wouldn't shut up about it, and it was
right?
everywhere.
It was
And
the
then a lot of
bird
people were
box of
like, "This
games,
isn't even for me," and then it kind of fell off. And
right?
I think it's the same thing. That's why like you saw like people who were like, "Look at how crazy Elden Ring is on sales. Everybody's buying it. Everyone's playing it." But then you look at like scores by like players, and players are giving it like 6, 7, and 8 out of 10 on average because it's like,
Hmm.
"Oh, it wasn't for me. Oh, I didn't like this. This was not what I was expecting." Yada yada. I think it was that thing that you see from time to time where like the movie Avatar when it first came out. Like
Hmm.
everybody on the planet saw the movie Avatar, and it wasn't an established IP. It like the dude's last movie was what, like Titanic or something. So it
Yeah,
was like he was known for good movies, but he wasn't known
documentaries.
for like action movies or anything recent or anything.
Hmm.
And yet for some reason everyone on the planet had to see Avatar like multiple times that year. Um,
Now it's like if I hear the word fucking Avatar one more goddamn time, and then they're doing a sequel
well,
now, so that's like it's all in the media again.
well, that's why I was laughing because it's like that's one of those things where it came out of nowhere, and it's the same thing with like Elden Ring. Like nobody, it didn't have any previous following. I mean, I guess you had From Software had previous following, but like
Hmm.
everybody had to try it for some reason. And then a lot of people were like, "Yeah, I don't know why I tried it. It really wasn't for me." And so instead of having the game do 5 million in sales and all 5 million are from fans, and it got like a Bloodborne style score where everybody loved it and everybody thought it was amazing, you get something where like everybody tried it, and then a lot of people were giving it like sixes because they didn't really like it.
Sure.
And now its score is sitting like in the 7, 8 range because a lot of people were like, "Oh, it wasn't for me." But those people wouldn't have tried it anyway if it wasn't for the fact that everyone on the planet was saying that it was going to be the best thing ever.
Sure.
So then everyone had to try it.
I've seen
You
a
know?
lot of buyer's remorse on Twitter lately. I think people are a little bit more comfortable talking
Yeah.
about how it was not the game for them. I mean, at the end of the day, it just for me,
Right.
it just felt like a harder Skyrim. And
Well,
I
that's the
just
thing. For a lot of people, they're not looking for that
mhm.
from a video game, and they picked up in an Elden Ring because everybody was like, "You don't understand. Elden Ring is going to be like the perfect game," and it was like, it was. You could argue that it was like close to like the perfect Souls game, but for a lot of people, any Souls game is not their ideal game.
Right.
So I think a lot of those people bought it, tried it. You know, it's like if you open up a pizza shop and you make pizza, and then everybody comes in, including the people who don't like pizza, because they heard how good your pizza is, and then they eat it, and they're like, "Yeah, I just don't like pizza," and it's like 3 stars. Well, what would you expect? That person's never going to give you 5 stars for your pizza because they don't like pizza. Like so,
Right.
and that's how I justify the whole thing because like I didn't think Elden Ring was anything special. It just looked like another Souls game to me, and I watched people play it, and I dug into all the controversies, and I followed the tweet threads when people were talking about this and that and the other thing, and it feels like another Souls game in all the same ways. It does a lot of things right, it does a lot of weird things wrong, and then the community just loves to like be really mad at people who say that it's not a 10 out of 10.
Like
There's that.
a lot of the difficulty
But
stems from like quality of life improvements that they just refuse to integrate into newer games. It's like, well,
well,
these are things that have been
right.
fixed in other games years ago. So I don't know.
Remember when it started with like it won't have a map and it won't mark where the merchants are. Or it won't mark where the merchants are.
Hmm.
And people were like, but that's like a normal thing in any game. And then people were like, oh, like get a notebook and write down where people are. Make do that. Like that's cool. I want to do that. And it was like,
Yeah, but it's not
what?
1991, and this isn't Mist.
Yeah. Like I get it. When you were a kid, it was cool to do that for like The Legend of Zelda. Like you wrote down where you found what bushes you could burn, and that was
Right.
great. But like now you can just have that in the game, and it's the same. It's built in. The game doesn't tell you where these things are, but once you find them, the game can track it for you. There's no
Sure.
reason to have a notebook. That's just dumb.
Yeah.
And then like, my favorite part is after it was all said and done, people were like, "Oh, get good, like get a notebook, write it down, do it. Like, this is exactly how I want the game to be. I want to have to explore and find stuff and not know what's happening." And then the patches start rolling out, and they add like tracking markers for the vendors. They add this change, that change. They make a change for the opening tutorial so that you're told there's a tutorial and you don't just skip it. And all the people who were like, "Oh, if you couldn't find the tutorial, like that's on you," or like, "Oh, if you didn't know it was there, that's your problem." And it was like, but everybody was having that
You're not
problem. And
supposed to
then
miss a tutorial. That's a design flaw.
right, and then the company
Like,
came out and patched the game to fix those problems. So what? Like, oh, if you don't like the way they did their game, like get good. But then the company makes the change anyway.
right.
So now what? Now you have to get good because the company obviously wants it to be the way they changed it to. So it was funny to watch these people like set themselves up for failure by being like, oh,
And
oh, well, what is it they always do with the developer Miyazaki? They're always like, oh, Miyazaki, like he makes everything perfect. He makes everything exactly how he wants it to be, and the way it comes out is his artistic vision, and you can't change his artistic vision. If it's too hard, sucks for you. And then they'll patch it and like make it easier, and they'll be like, no, I can't believe Miyazaki did this, and it's like, okay, well, this is what he wanted though. Like, I thought it
right.
was his artistic vision, and you have to let him have it or whatever.
You were supposed to figure out that you're supposed to hit a wall 85 times to unlock
to,
something.
to open the wall.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
definitely not a bug. Definitely just have a skill issue.
Yeah.
Oh my god. So
So
like, it's just that's my favorite is to watch people be like, "This is the way he wanted it to be," and then he changes it, and they're like, "I can't believe they caved to like all these whiny kids," and it was like you were the one whining. They obviously already intended to do this. Like,
like every
oh
community seems
man,
to have some gatekeeping, but the Souls community is astronomically and like exponentially and geometrically more than any other community that I have ever seen. It's intense.
yeah, I like. I'll go into any other community. We'll talk Kingdom Hearts, we'll talk Zelda, we'll talk Final Fantasy. I'll go into pages and groups and chat conversations, and you'll get gatekeeping. You'll get people who are like, if you didn't play the side games in Kingdom Hearts, like you didn't really play Kingdom Hearts. And it's like, okay, that's gatekeeping. Like,
Sure.
I get why they're saying that because there's story over there, but you can play the Kingdom Hearts 1, 2, 3, and that's it, and still enjoy those games and have a good time with it. There's no reason to be like, oh, you have to play the other ones, like, or you don't know what's going on or whatever. Final Fantasy, you'll see gatekeeping out of Final Fantasy. People who never played 14 or people who never played 11 will like they'll be like, oh, you like if you like 14, you'll get like people who are like, oh, I like 11 better, and it's like,
Hmm.
okay, that's fine, and they're like 14's garbage, 11 was way better, and it's like, To each their own, dude. I like 11 could level you down in the middle of a dungeon if you died. That seems really dumb, but I'm not going to go into the arguments.
Yeah, that's
But
kind of what
like,
stopped me because I hit a wall where I just could not get past it, and it's like if you solo that game, you're never gonna have fun.
right, right.
So,
But like, so all these communities have that, but no community ever seems to have like it's like a skill issue gatekeep where like if you don't play the other Kingdom Hearts games, they're just like, oh well, you're missing out on story. If you don't play like certain Final Fantasy titles, people are just like, oh, you missed out on a good one. But if you don't play like Souls games, people are like, it's because you're bad. Like that's what it always comes down to. It's always like, well, you're bad at them, or you're bad at games,
right.
or like you're a scrub. You have to get good. They're like the only community on the planet that seems to do that all the time. I mean, I guess like I'm sure shooting communities have that. Maybe stuff like Valorant has it, or Fortnite probably has some of it kicking around, or maybe even like fighting game communities like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter, maybe it's in there. But like they keep it really contained if they do that, because you never see those communities pouring out over Twitter and screaming at everybody about like how dare they make Liu Kang's fireball like less reach because people are scrubs or something. I don't know. The weirdest stuff. It's always the weirdest stuff.
100%. Well, also played some Shadowrun Trilogy these last 2 weeks.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I got it on the Switch. I'm having a blast with it. I was kind of on the fence, like spending. I was like, it's $40. I already spent a bunch of money on games this week, but got it. I love the narrative of it. It's everything I want out of like just that cyberpunk feel.
Yeah.
It's great narrative, great battle, great fighting mechanics and everything. If you like
I'll
Disco
never.
Elysium, it's like Disco Elysium with combat, but obviously different theme.
Right.
So if you're into like heavy narrative games, that's the move. I'm telling you right now.
I'll have to check it out. As a kid, I very much liked the Shadowrun for Super Nintendo, and that game was one of those games that did not tell you what you were doing or hold your hand very much. You just kind of had to figure shit out. But it was the whole world was really cool. It was like I haven't seen any other like I don't know, not brands but or franchises, I guess, genres, I guess, where like tech and magic came together so heavily. Like
It's so well
you have
done
like
too.
these predefined like groups or whatever, like these niches or these like genres, and it's like you have cyberpunk, and then you have like high fantasy, and then you have like cyberpunk with high fantasy magic and classes in it, and that's just Shadowrun. Like no one else does that. You never hear about other games being like,
Right.
oh yeah, it's a tech sci-fi game, but also there's magic. Like,
What about New
and when
Capenna?
they do it, and when games do that, they usually have a very hard divide where it's like Final Fantasy 14 or Final Fantasy 6 style, where it's like you have tech, and then magic shows up, and there's like they're not cooperating, and like or in 14, like the Guardians are all tech because they can't use magic, and then everyone else is all magic, and their tech sucks because they don't use tech because they use magic.
Right.
Like Shadowrun is just like, yeah, he's a goblin. He prays to like the spirits of the mountains, and also he has like a net deck attached to his neck, and he just hops into computers, and you're like, okay, like it's just what he does, I guess.
Yeah,
Oh, that's
definitely.
cool.
And then I also finally started Persona 5, and
Oh, there you go.
it's
I hear
such
nothing but good
a
things.
goddamn good game. Holy shit, the soundtrack is incredible.
The dude,
The whole
I've
game is
never played it,
incredible.
but all I do is listen to the Persona music all the time. There's so many good tracks
You
in
told me that.
Persona.
That's great. So,
It's amazing.
yep.
That's good. It's on my list of things I'll have to play. I have it still, but
Yeah. Definitely
games take time.
start it sooner than later. I recommend it wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I think I'll put it on my short list. I want to do that, and I want to do Nier Automata, and I want to do. I have to finish that game where I get to beat up the townsfolk. Octopath,
Traveler.
Octopath Traveler. Where I can beat up the townsfolk. I got to
That's
get on
great.
that.
Absolutely. All right. So social media accounts. We have obviously Game Dude Retro, Twitter and Instagram. I am very much more active on Twitter than anywhere else besides Twitch. And then speaking of Twitch and TikTok, I am Retro Game Dude. Just posted a clip on TikTok today of I think the last time we did a podcast. So
Yeah,
it's a
when
good
you were
clip.
talking about the buttload of Final Fantasy announcement.
It was such a good clip. Oh man, good shit. So, all right. Well, let's
Wild
talk
out
about
here.
the old sponsor, Handheld Legend. If you are into game modding or just want to display your old retro consoles, or just want to maybe like have your Game Boy Color and put into the screen in it, something like this guy right here, backlit and everything. You can't tell because the green screen kind of throws it all off. I don't know if that. Yeah, look at that. It's like practically invisible. So, Yeah, I get their parts and components. They're actually kind of I didn't realize that they're local for me. They're actually like an hour away from me. So I'm thinking I might
Hmm.
actually road trip out there to save myself some shipping and pick up some screens. I have like 6 Game Boy Advances myself that I got to put new backlit screens in, and I'm gonna try and flip those. So, yep.
Nice.
So if you are into that as well, handheldlegend.com/retrogamedude, or use code retrogamedude at checkout, save $10 on your first purchase, and I always get a little kickback on that as well. So, um, that's our sponsor. So let's move on.
Oh yeah.
All right, some quick headlines. We got a big list here and a new edition, a late edition. We'll talk about at the end here. But Rockstar confirmed that the end of major Red Dead Online support is beginning. People were surprised at this because most people were like, "What support?" So,
Yeah.
I think the community in general, this is kind of like the PS Vita effect, where the company just kind of neglected this from the beginning and never really did anything with it, except for like maybe some stability patches, and people were kind of pissed off at the overall quality of the online play. They try to make it too much like Grand Theft Auto, and it doesn't really make sense in a Western themed game. So,
Right. It just felt like it was one of those this did well in Grand Theft Auto, so we'll just put it here as well
right. They should treat
moments.
them like their own entities, and they didn't separate them enough. I don't think. I think that's where it really suffered. It's a shame because I played the original Red Dead and all the DLCs. I had a really good time with it. I
Mhm.
haven't been back to play this one, but I hear the gameplay is really good, but the online is just terrible.
Yeah,
And
I've heard.
Rockstar is just calling it quits. So there's that. Games with gold will no longer include Xbox 360 titles. So if you're worried about playing Viva Pinata for the 800th time, you're gonna have to get it from somewhere else or buy it. So there's that. E3 is partnering with PAX organizers for a return in 2023. I'm hoping that we do see a resurgence of it because I think this year just kind of felt a little sparse and disorganized as far as the gaming announcements. Um, the Summer Games Fest with Jeff Keighley, it's just kind of one of those things where it's like, okay, well, all these companies are doing all these game announcements, and he's like, well, this is all under my umbrella, and it's like, did you do anything though? Like
The
I,
tuxedo mask, like
right, yeah, yeah,
my
my
job here
job is
is
done
done.
here.
Like
No, what did
he
you
didn't do
do?
anything.
Yeah, so, um, and I think that's why Nintendo like deliberately separated themselves so far apart from it, just so it was like, okay, your little Summer Games Fest is done. Now it's our turn to make our announcements at
Yeah.
at our
Well, that
at our
happened with
call.
like Sony started doing that too. Sony was like they
Hmm.
separated from E3 one year, and then the next year they were like completely their own thing, and then yeah, they moved away too. That's why I'm surprised about this E3 thing because it's like, what is the plan with this? I mean, I see that it's the people who do PAX,
Hmm.
and obviously PAX is successful still, but I don't know. I don't think you can convince Sony or Nintendo to come back
Right. I think it really
easily
needs to
anyway.
return true to form, where it's more focused on press and less like a Comic Con, where they just let anyone
Right,
through the
right.
door. And no one wants to stand around for 8 hours to play 15 minutes of a fucking game demo. Um,
Well,
so
that
I
was the kicker, right? Because like, yeah, it used to be like a journalist event where like people
right.
would report on what was happening and stuff.
And like
And when they
E3 is
kicked open
still
the doors and
important.
sold tickets, it's
Right.
like Disney World in the summer. Like, sure,
Sure.
you can go, but like, you get to do two things all day. You better pick what they are ahead of
Right.
time. Like,
It'd be one thing if they split the events, like you have like the press side, and then you have like the larger area for the masses that want to, if they want to have, like, if companies want to have like a second booth over there for that
yeah,
stuff. But they need to have the journalists need to have access to report these games appropriately. Um,
right, right.
so I think like, they need to do like a return to form. Um, with the press stuff, and it's important because that's how indie games and game developers network with like larger companies to get published.
Sure.
So when you have something that's just like an all digital event like the Summer Games Fest, you don't really have that. Now it's
Yeah,
great that we
absolutely.
see like Devolver Digital and limited run games and stuff they do. Their presentations are always great and funny, but
Yeah.
you're missing out on like major, that major networking that really independent companies need to survive.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So, I'm hopeful that it's going to be a good turnout next year, or a good event, to kind of rekindle what E3. Obviously, it's been kind of going down the shitter for the last couple of years, and the last 2 years we haven't had one because of COVID,
Yeah.
obviously. So,
Yeah, the fact that it's being done by the PAX team, it's bittersweet because I know the PAX team does a good job with PAX, and
mhm,
so I'm not worried about it being in bad hands. But that also to me screams that the event is going to go very Comic-Con, very
right.
exclusive pop figures, exclusive this, exclusive
Yeah,
that.
and
Make sure you've got stuff that draws people to your booth
that's
so
what you
that they
don't
have to
want.
be here.
So
hmm
we'll see.
And it makes me think they're gonna open up tickets again and do like E3 was on the way out, like
Right.
packing crowds into like the buildings and shit. I guess we'll see.
And then everyone's like, "Well, you don't understand what happened." It's like, "Well, you did the opposite of what you should have."
Yeah.
So, um, all right, let's move on. We got info on Forspoken being delayed this week. We had it up on their Twitch account. They posted this from their official Twitch account. I'm sorry, Twitter account. So, as a result of the ongoing discussions with key partners, we have made the strategic decision to move the launch date of Forspoken to January 24th of 2023. All game elements are now complete, and development is in the final polishing phase. We would like to thank you for your continued support and patience on this journey. Your excitement for this game inspires us every day, and we cannot wait to share more about Forspoken with you later this summer. So that was
Really look forward
from
to it.
Luminous and Square Enix. So
hmm
I think it's probably a good move. No one wants to be the next Cyberpunk 2077. That is for sure. Um,
Yeah, that's definitely a part of it, and the fact that they're in polishing and they're actually extending just the polishing phase is good because that's
right.
a good sign.
Yeah.
If they were like we're still in development and we're pushing it because of that, it's like that's a bad sign.
hmm
Um, and the game looks great now. Like what we've seen of the game so far, it looks like it's well fleshed out and not like lacking in any areas as it is. Um, I think it was a good move on their part. The fact that they say strategic decision makes me kind of think that Square Enix has a lot of games coming out all
A
year. And
lot.
I almost wonder if they did not need one more title cannibalizing their sales in the middle of
Sure.
everything else.
And that's gonna be one of our big stories this tonight, is just how many games they have coming out in the next
Yeah.
4, 5, 6 months.
Oh, yeah. Well, Forspoken was November, right?
Yes. So they were
Okay, so that would have been
tagging around
almost
holiday.
that would have been almost right on top of like Crisis Core remake, right?
hmm
Winter this year.
Yeah, so that would have been potentially 5 games that they'd be releasing in the holiday purchasing season. That's a
Yeah,
lot.
that
So,
that seems like a lot.
and that might be
I
something out
totally
of
get it.
Nintendo's playbook where they kind of swapped around Advance Wars and um, Splatoon and
Yeah,
what's the other one? Something 3.
Xenoblade Chronicles
Xenoblade,
3, I
that's it.
think.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, was that
Jesus.
one? Yeah.
I have it
Oh
pre-ordered. I
God,
can't
that
remember the
reminds
name of
me.
it.
Oh, that reminds me. Live Alive is this month, and that game looks really good.
Yeah,
I guess we'll get there when we get to like new releases or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah, we'll get
definitely.
there. I just remember
um,
that game existed, and I was like, oh, that's right. There's a demo. Like, there's like 3 little demos of that game actually.
right.
That's cool.
Titanfall fans, sorry to report this one, but it looks like Apex Legends is getting a first-person shooter single-player game. So I really wouldn't count on a Titanfall 3 anytime soon, being that this Apex IP is probably one of the most successful games that EA and Respawn have going on right now. I mean, it's raking
True.
in money hand over fist. So,
Oh yeah.
unfortunately, and I'm sure that this game probably shares a lot of DNA with Titanfall. So, if anyone's looking for that Titanfall fix, I'm sure they're going to get it out of these games. I don't play them
Yeah.
enough. I haven't really ever gotten into the Titanfall series, but yeah, it's kind of a shame for the hardcore Titanfall fans that have been clamoring. I mean, every other day I see someone, it's like, "Where's Titanfall 3" on Twitter? But I
Yeah.
wouldn't get your hopes up of it coming out anytime soon. So,
Yeah, I don't think so either. Not with this.
no. No. We also saw a gameplay trailer for Skull and Bones, Ubisoft's answer to what if we did an Assassin's Creed, but it was only the boat fighting part of
Yeah.
Assassin's Creed. Was it Rogues or whatever? I don't even know.
Yeah.
The pirate
No,
Assassin's
it's
Creed,
Black Flag.
Black
Yeah.
Flag. I can't keep up with them anymore.
Yeah, it's understandable.
We got some good news though. The Deus Ex and Guardians of the Galaxy writer, he will be the senior narrative director of the next Mass Effect game. So hopefully they pull this game out of the trenches with Andromeda and they get back on track with like a good trilogy like we have with the first 3 Mass Effect entries. Let's hope there.
Yeah.
To the shock of no one, the trademark for the Amico was appended. Who could have seen this coming? Um, yeah, so
Blows my
this
mind.
thing's been a dumpster fire from the very start. None of the marketing ever made any sense. Um, it's all bad. I think they did like multiple fundraisings of this, and they never got this thing off the ground. And I don't think we'll ever see it. And I think a lot of people are out a lot of money. And yeah, I think once they started trying to fundraise through crypto, we knew this was a really bad sign.
No.
So, they were selling like
What do you mean?
they were selling like physical copies of games. You'd pre-order the games of a system that doesn't even exist yet, and there was like crypto attached to them.
Have you not seen how successful Axie Infinity currently is?
Yeah, so
It's
well, this all went
it's
down before Axie Infinity. This is probably about a year ago now, but
it's a
it's
game.
just another, yeah, it's just another thing in the long line of crypto scams. So yeah,
Dude, let me tell you, Axie Infinity is one of the game of all time.
mm-hmm, yep, it sure is.
There is. It's there.
It sure is a
It's
game.
listed. It sure is listed.
You sure can download a game that's
Yeah,
called
yeah. Oh
Axie
my
Infinity.
god.
Um, a lot of rumors this week about a Nintendo Switch Pro. I tried to warn people. It
I
wasn't
feel like it
happening.
happens every time the Switch
Every so
anytime Nintendo like sneezes, people are
yeah.
like Switch Pro.
So I guess there was like rumors of them like stockpiling resources, and they're like,
Ah.
so of course, everyone's like, holy shit, it's just a Nintendo Switch Pro. So we didn't even get like something out of Bloomberg this time, and usually we get some like clamorings out of Bloomberg. They didn't really have much to say about the whole situation.
Hmm.
But there is no Nintendo Switch Pro. But we
No.
did get a really nice Nintendo Switch OLED special edition here. Let's check it out. So we got it's the Splatoon 3 themed Switch OLED that is coming out August 26th. And I have to say, with all the special editions, this is probably the best looking one they've done yet. They've got like the gradient Joy-Cons here with like the squid stuff on the back, and then there's the patterning on the Joy-Cons. It's like all the Splatoon artwork. Then the back, it's got like some more Splatoon patterns. And I like how they did like the black body Switch, but with like a white dock. That's really tight.
Yeah. I think it looks really good.
Yeah, I think it's so far.
I'm
This
not
is
a
probably.
Splatoon guy at all, but I
Oh,
would buy
yeah.
this.
Oh, we'll be playing that, boy.
Oh, there you go.
I think they did a great look in this. I think the Pro controllers, however, I've never liked any of their special edition Pro controllers. I don't know what it is, but they just like to do the colored handles and nothing else. And they do like a little
Yeah.
varnish pattern in the middle of it, but it's like they've never looked good to me. They always look like second rate third party controllers to me. I don't
Oh,
know.
agreed. Yeah, it's always weird.
But yep, so that's all we have for our quick stories here. Let's dig into Diablo Immortal making some money. So this week we had some reports. It's made $49 million in its first month. It's currently making $1 million a day.
Mhm.
And you've played it.
I have played it. I am.
What can you tell us about your experience so far?
Yeah. So, I picked it up after I got back from vacation because the whole time we were on vacation, Creature kept saying I should play it.
Mm-hmm.
But we were at a place that had like no internet. It like so we went to Virginia, and like I don't even remember the name of the town. It was literally like Farm Town, Virginia kind of thing. You know what I mean? One of those where like you're driving on the road and it's like, I mean, you probably see this in Pennsylvania. I saw some of it in some parts of Connecticut where it's like cows, field, cows, field, and like that's everything, right?
Everywhere
Like,
here, yeah.
yeah, the town has like the center of town where we were was like a gas station, and the gas station had like a weird Starbucks in it, but it was just a corner window that was cut out, and the dude made like six coffees, not even regular coffee. He made six coffees, one of which wasn't even regular. Um, and like two milkshake options or something weird. And then it was
What?
like, yeah, that gas station had like mayonnaise and ketchup and all your like shenanigans you would need, but it was like double the price of what it should have been. And
Uh-huh.
that was like the center of town. It was like a gas station,
Nice.
so it was like, all right. And you went to like the next town over. We kept going to the next town over 20, 30 minutes away to like have access to like a Walmart or like little stores and stuff. So that was funny. And then so So yeah, the internet sucked while we were there. So like we couldn't stream anything, we couldn't really download anything, which is fine. I didn't need to, but like Creature was like, download Immortal on your phone, and I'm like, I'm not going to. It's gonna take all day to do that.
Yeah.
Jace actually did on his computer. It took him literally a full day to download Diablo Immortal on that internet, and then it
Jeez.
wouldn't play because it's an online game. So it like tried to connect online and be like, I don't know what I'm doing here. Like I can't even play this.
Nice.
So when we came back, I downloaded it on my computer. I got it on my phone too, and the mobile controls are really good,
Hmm.
but it accepts my my DualSense, which this feels way better than any mobile controls will ever feel.
Sure.
So, it feels really good with the controller. There's a few little weird things about it. Like in general, I'm probably like level 50 or something like around that area, 50 something maybe, 51, 53. I don't know. I forget. The number doesn't matter. It just keeps going up. So far from what I've played, at no point have I had to spend money. Although the game makes a point of offering you a bundle every time you clear like a dungeon. It'll be like you unlocked the bundle for that dungeon, and it's like $1. Or the first two bundles are like $1, and the second one's like $2, and the next one's like $5, and then the most recent one I think I got was like $10. And there's always more stuff in it, like. But also, like, the percentage of value you're getting is going down every time. If you go back and look at the first $1 bundle, it's like plus 600% value or some garbage, and it goes down over time, even though the price is going up, and etc.
So they're punishing you. They're getting you addicted to it and then punishing you for coming back.
Well, you know what it is? They know that people who are buying these things along the way are doing in their head, like, the math and being like, I already spent $2, so $2 is fine, and now they've spent $4. And then so when the next bundle is $5, you're like, I've already spent $4. I can just spend $5 again. It doesn't matter. And then now you've spent $9. So when the next bundle is $10, you keep doing like, I've basically already paid this much. It doesn't matter. And then they jump you to 20, and it's literally how it works. Some of the shit is wild. You go on like, there's the enhanced battle pass for $5, which I didn't get, but it's basically your paid track. Like, you know, Destiny has their season for $10. And if you're playing for free, you still get the free track, and then paying for the season gives you the season track. It's that. So, you know, that's not anything to write home about. It's actually cheaper than Destiny season, but the season has content in it, so it's arguable about how much of the content makes up that $10 versus $5 without the content. I don't know. That's the whole thing. I think that part's fine. I don't see a problem with them charging $5 for like a season and having it be like a thing or whatever, reward track. But holy shit, there's like a collector's battle pass that's like $100. And it's just got a bunch of extra shit they give you up front on top of getting the battle pass.
Feels so
I have
bad.
no idea. It's the wildest shit. Yeah, and then like the game, every time you beat a dungeon, the game will pop up with a notification to be like, a new bundle is available. I think they've given me. I got a rare crest. I got a legendary crest, the ones that you're supposed to get to like actually get the gems. I got one from the the season track for free. And then I was given, I had the option to buy one. There's a vendor who takes currency called hilts, and I was able to buy one from him for 1,600 hilts. I had about 5,000 so far. It seems like you can only buy one of those from him a month, though, and you're supposed to be putting 3 in for a run. And if you put in 3, remember, then it pops up with like times 7 and says like you can add 7 more to make it 10.
So you have to wait 3 months to.
I'd have to wait 3 months to do like a triple legendary, and then when I put my third legendary in, the game would be like, "Do you want to add 7 more?" Which would take me the rest of the year to get those extra 7. Now, granted, maybe there's one every month in the battle track, so maybe you get 2 a month if you do that and buy the one from the guy. That's still not a good look when it takes 3 to run.
Right.
You don't have to use them. You can use rare gems, rare crests, but rare crests you don't get legendary gems. And the whole point of the building your character to get stronger is you need the legendary gems, because like you have normal gems which are like damage up, health up, armor up, whatever. And the legendary gems are the ones that actually are for your builds, like do 5% more damage to enemies, but take 5% more damage from enemies. And it has magic finding item capabilities, and it has this, and it has this, and it has this. Like, so those are the ones you want. Those are the important ones. And having to like, I'm level 50, and I think I only have 4 or 5 legendary gems. And I think it's because they give you one in the story. I got the one from the Battle Pass crest. I got the one that I bought from the vendor. And I think I crafted one legendary. I think I crafted like one of them. But that's because when you run the missions, when you run those rifts, you can get a bunch of runes, and then some of those runes can be used to craft things. And even then, same thing. There's like one room that you get a million of that's common, and there's some that are hard to find, and all the ones that are hard to find are the ones that you need 5 or 6 of to make different things. So those you'll rarely get to craft them either. Um, it's been fine so far. I'm enjoying playing it up to this point. The combat feels great. The moves are cool. I feel like a badass running around in the game as a monk and killing shit. I'm having a great time with the combat and the story. However, the last 2 days I've noticed I got one story mission where I had to be level 43 to go do it, and I wasn't there yet. So then the game was like, hey, go do bounties, go do something else, go do rifts. And I did it pretty quickly, and it was like I had a side mission to take care of, which I did it, and I did the whole thing, and then it was like, hey, you're 46, go keep going. But then there was another one for like 50, and then there was another one for 53, and it's getting harder every time to catch up to what I need to be to continue the main story. So they're slowly pushing me more and more into like, yeah, you're gonna have to do bounties every day, and wait, you're gonna have to do rifts and see what you get from the rifts. You're gonna have to do the bestiary and stuff. You're gonna have to do this and that. Um, So that's getting it hasn't gotten like, oh, this feels like I don't want to play anymore yet, because the game's still fun. But it's definitely moving me into that, like, hey man, if you had just bought one of these little bundles, maybe you'd already be 56, and you'd be like, you'd have another legendary gem, like
Right.
whatever.
You would have to spend a week side questing and bounties. And...
Right. And then I know that people say that like I'm approaching 60, and 60 apparently is where the game turns into endgame. And the endgame, even the director, the guy that made that comment that we're going to talk about,
yeah,
even he mentioned that that's behind like paywall. Like you don't really get to do that stuff, or that stuff just sucks to do if you're not paying for it. So I mean, I'll report back in a week when I get to that point. As of right now, if you want to sit down and play Diablo Immortal from front to back for like the campaign into like the 50s and not pay any money for it, it's a good run. It's fun. It's interesting. It's engaging. Combat feels really good. If Diablo 4 feels like this, I'll play it. But wow, they take every opportunity to shove in your face like the ability to buy stuff. There's like 18 currencies, and most of them you can buy with money, or you have to buy with money, or like, oh, and the whole end game too. The end game is actually, there's this thing called the Immortal system, which is really weird. So you have the Immortals and the Shadows, right? And all the Shadows is basically everybody. Like everybody's in the Shadows, and the way it works is like there's a period of time every month where like the top 10 Shadow teams can fight to like be the best Shadow team, and then they can try and fight the Immortals team from last month, whoever was picked for that team, the top team or whatever. And if you beat them, you become the new Immortals for the next month. And then the Shadows will like do their thing. They'll build up their guilds underneath you. Then they'll all fight, and then the one winning team will fight you guys. And then if you win, you stay the Immortals, and if you lose, you get knocked back out into the Shadows. So it's sort of like a competitive mode where like the one clan or the one group is like the top dog, everyone else is below that group, and they're fighting for control of trying to like a chance to take that spot from them. And what's wild is that there's a whole shop tab at that Hilt guy for just Immortals that has rare crests, legendary gem stuff, all those things you pay money for, right? So if you want that stuff without paying real money, you've got to be the top team. But if you want to be the top team, you've got to have
a lot of money into it.
Cracked out builds to win. Like, so you see where it's going. It's very much encouraging you to like spend money to save money or whatever. Like it's I feel like once you get to that point, once I get to that point, I feel like it's going to be like there will be nothing for me to do in that game but sign in and do my dailies, and like once every few months I'll earn enough for like a free thing. I'll never be an Immortal if I don't put money into it. There's absolutely no way. That's a system that you just can't engage with.
It feels horrible.
Imagine going into Destiny's Crucible and being like, yeah, you know, the Trials of the Nine, and it's like, yeah, you know, the Trials of the Nine, the team that goes to the Lighthouse, except it's only the one top team who made it, and that's it for the season. And then next season you can try and beat them in like a 3v3, and if you do, then you get to go to the Lighthouse. Like, holy shit, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, the top spot is one team.
Do you think game companies are worried right now because Blizzard has just taken this monetization way too fucking far?
I don't know. I mean, it's weird because I don't think it's so much what they offer and how they offer it, because I see this shit all the time in mobile games that I play. I play Disney Mirrorverse right now, and it's the same thing. Every time I log into the game, it opens up with like 2 or 3 bundle opportunities. And then randomly as I'm doing things, it'll be like, hey, look, limited time offer. And I get that. I see that a lot in mobile games. So that doesn't feel like what's new. What feels like what's new is it's very meticulously designed to get you to follow a certain money track. The way that they do these super cheap bundles at first into the more expensive ones, and every single step along the way is like just enough where you feel like I've already paid basically this amount. I don't mind doing it again, kind of thing.
There's a scary amount of psychology involved in this.
Right, it's very, very tricky. Like, if you go to buy legendary crests, right? So say you go to buy 3 legendary crests to go do a run. If you buy the currency to buy the crests, you come up 5 currency short of 1 more crest. So it feels bad, right? Like, why would I buy this when I'm going to come up so like just shy of what I need for 1 more, right? It'd be like, you're buying a bundle of Ascendant shards, but like it's the materials to buy the Ascendant shards, and instead of getting 10 enhancement prisms, you get 9. You're like, well, I should just do the next one up, right? Because the next one up will give me more, and I'll have enough to get. I mean, how many times have you looked at the thing and done that decision where it's like, I'll buy the one that gives me an exact amount I need because the one for 3 puts me 5 short, and the one for 5 puts me 10 short, but the one for 10 is exactly the amount that I need for 10. So if you make a $20 purchase in Diablo Immortal, you get exactly enough resources to buy 10 legendary crests, right? So you're sort of like, I feel dumb doing the other purchases except the $20 one. So I'm filtered into the options.
Giving you 3 options, but only one is truly viable. And it's, of course,
only one
the
that feels like viable. Right. Well, I won't say it's the most expensive because there's more expensive stuff, but they definitely shoot you for that $20 window, right? But there's a reason. So when you buy that $20 window, you get 10 crests. And in your head, you're like, all right, I can do 3 rifts with 3 crests each, which is like the full kitted out crest or whatever. And I'll have 1 left over still. So if I get a free one off my track and I get the one from the vendor for the month, I'll have 12, which means I can do 4 runs. Okay. I paid $20 and I get 4 runs. It doesn't feel terrible yet. It does feel terrible, honestly, but like, not that I've done that. I imagine that would feel terrible to spend $20 on 3 runs of a game, but I don't know. That's just me. But then you go to put those 3 crests in the wheel, and that's when it pops up with the button that says, hey, you can put 7 more. And you just so happen to have 7 more, don't you? Because you bought 10. So you're like, all right, fine. I'll push the 7 more button, and we'll just make this one run be like all my legendary gems, like a shit ton of legendary gems. And you hit the button, and you get in there, and you run, and you kill everything, and you get your boss at the end, and he fountains 10 legendary gems because that's what you did. And like, do you really want to go back in there ever again and not get 10 gems out of it? Like, isn't it going to feel shitty going in there with just rare crests and getting none?
Sure.
Or like whatever. So of course now you're like on the position of like doing this but not paying the $20 feels bad.
You've normalized all the most expensive thing you can do, and it's deliberately the track that you're on has been deliberately designed to coast you this way.
Yep. And then there's like if you want normal gems above rank 5, they cost platinum, and platinum is a currency that costs real money. They give it to you sometimes in the free track. They drip feed you a little bit, but it's never enough to really do anything with it. I'm level 50, and I've only got enough platinum to buy 3 of the stones, and I don't even know how many stones you need. You probably need more than 1, so I don't even know. It feels like I'm enjoying my time with the game that I've been playing for free up until this point.
It's
and I think that within the next week of me continuing to play at this pace, I'm going to hit the wall literally, and it will probably feel bad. It'll probably feel real bad. And you'll hear about it. I'll let you know when it happens, because I'm sure it's coming. I will say, if you've been wondering about this game and you want to play it, it's a good Diablo game for a campaign. Playing it front to back as I've been playing it, other than the weird pacing around 45 where it starts to be like, hey, you need a couple levels to get there, it's been fine other than that. Bugs aren't really there. I mean, there's a couple bugs. I showed you the one that the lady couldn't get through the gate and she was like running in a circle. That was funny.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't actually impact the game. You don't have to have her come with you for that part. She just gets stuck. The combat feels good. It's engaging. It's more interesting than I expected, honestly, for a mobile game. There's enemies that do targeted AoEs. There's things you can get out of the way of, things you can interrupt. It feels almost like a Final Fantasy 14 style combat, where like you've got to pay attention to what's going on and use your skills like wisely. I like it. I think the free part of the game is great for what it is. And my major gripe with Immortal would be the fact that the end game is locked behind paid, which I've never been that kind of person, but most Diablo players I know are the kind of people who want to play the end game of Diablo over and over and over and over and over. And they want to grind Hell 2 and they want to grind Hell 3 and they want to get their Paragon levels and all this bullshit. That's the game for them. Getting to there is like the chore. And for me, the game is getting there, and then that's the chore, so I stop.
Right. Oh, that's the Mike Ybarra made that argument that 99.5% of the game is free to play. It's
Yeah,
that last 0.5% though, where you're going to spend 99.5% of your career in the game.
exactly. And that's what a lot of Diablo, like I personally, when I beat Diablo 2, I put it down immediately. So I'm the kind of person who will play the free game all the way to the end
Mm-hmm.
and then just stop playing. But if you are engaging with the end game in any capacity, if you're doing the Shadows and the Immortals thing, if you're doing the Hell 3 raids, if you're doing Paragon stuff, if you're doing a warband and you guys are trying to clear all the hard stuff together, you are going to feel a lot of pressure to be up to snuff for that gear level, legendary gems, all that garbage. You're going to be on the hook for that, and you're
Mm-hmm.
going to either have to pay or just not play, or
Sure.
play forever. And like, I don't think anybody would like. I can't even log into Destiny and play that game because there's not enough to do right now, and I don't care about the little things they're drip feeding me. I couldn't even imagine logging on every day to do 4 bounties so that over the course of an entire month I could save up enough hilts to buy one legendary crest, so I could go do one rift with one legendary gem, so I could get one shot at a 1-star legendary gem probably, and then do that 5 times to rank up that gem to like rank 3, much less rank 4, rank 5, yada yada. It's unfeasible
Yeah.
as a business model, other than paying money, which is what they want.
Sure.
Um, I will say, like, hop in, play the free game, don't put any money to it, and have a good time with what they give you for free, and then walk away from it forever. No problem with that. I think
Sure.
it's a good experience. It might be one of the few mobile games you'll actually enjoy.
And that's what
On
I've
that
done with like
regard.
Lost Ark. I've just exclusively played the storyline. You can play the game front to back from the storyline,
Yep.
free, and it's not a bad storyline.
Yeah. Well, that's like we had that talk about like Genshin, and I was like, I'm pretty sure you can sit there and play Genshin like 95% of the way play through for free and have a good time.
Sure,
And then when the game starts to be like squeezy, just put it down,
but
like, and you'll still have a good time.
any of those games, is there a pathway to spend $15,000, $25,000, $50,000, as
Oh
people are
yeah,
doing
yeah.
in Immortal? I don't think that that's there.
Immortal is insane because most games, yeah, like you could, like games like Genshin, for example, you could walk in there and put money into like the lottery pools. But the thing is, usually you can walk in and pay like a premium, which is usually like 15, 20, maybe $30,
Mhm.
and get a bunch of rolls that pretty much guarantees you'll get like a bunch of the good drops out of it, and then you can walk away from it. Like Immortal is insane with this whole like,
Again, that's why I think they've just taken it way too far.
you know what
Um,
it is though, is like it's the stuff that Diablo's always had, like this crazy like you level up the stuff all the way to the end, and then you can rank it up, and then you rank it all the way into the rank, and then you can like ascend it, and then you can take the ascended stuff and go way beyond that. And it's always been in Diablo, and that's what makes Diablo players play those games for months and like bot them and stuff, is because
sure,
like you can literally sit there and kill a boss for fucking 3 months and then not see the drops you need or see like a drop or something. Like it's wild. Borderlands has that kind of thing too, where you can turn up the difficulty in Borderlands and keep going and going and going and going for a long time. The problem is that Diablo Immortal feels like the first game that's taken that entire process and put a price tag on every step of the way, and then made it almost impossible to do outside of that price tag.
sure.
Which is why you're seeing like it's the Rock Band of games, where like Rock Band doesn't seem bad when you're like, yeah, it's $60 or it's $80 or $100. You get the kit, maybe $200 gets you the whole band kit, and you sit down and you play with your friends. And then you buy a couple songs for a couple dollars. And then you buy a track pack for $10. And then you buy this, and then you buy that, and all of a sudden you're $300 into the game. And you never stop to consider that there's people out there who bought every track in Rock Band and ended up paying like $2,000 for everything because it was all individual $1, $2 purchases. That's what it feels like Diablo Immortal is doing on their end. Is like, you don't have to put all that money into the game, but there are people who will do it because they can,
Mhm.
and there are people who are absolutely right now spending $300 tonight to do, 10 legendary crest runs or something 10
There,
times.
there are people out there that are gamers who have never touched a fucking slot machine. They've never been in a casino that
Yep,
are succumbing to a gambling addiction they didn't know they had
gambling
because of
addiction.
this game.
Oh yeah, and
Um,
that's the kicker. Like it's one thing when it's something like Genshin Impact, where it's like you play the game and then you get to a point where the game starts to pressure you and be like, hey, you need a lightning champion who's like 5-star. I mean, I'm I haven't played
paraphrasing,
Genshin that far. I know about it, so
sure.
like I don't know if I don't want someone to be like in the comments be like, yeah, there's actually not even lightning champions in Genshin Impact, and there's no
It's
5-star ranking.
just
I'm like,
for
oh, whatever,
example.
dude.
Right, right,
You
right.
get what I'm saying. Um,
There's a gate.
you can feel
There's a pay
like
gate.
pressured. There's a gate of some kind,
Hmm.
and the gate kind of leads you into like, hey, you need a lightning champion who's a certain rank to do this content, and it'll ship you over to the store and be like, there's a lightning champion in this bundle, or like you can roll on this stuff and maybe you'll get one or something. And there's always free avenues and yada yada. But the problem with these things, with these games, is the harm that's done isn't necessarily like, because me and you could sit there me and you could go month by month and do like Genshin Impact, Diablo Immortal, all these games, and not ever pay a cent to any of them, and then walk away from them all and probably have a good time with them. The problem is that the potential is there for people to get scammed or
Right.
be unable to stop themselves from doing a bad thing.
Absolutely.
And it's the same thing with like I don't know, like people always make the joke about like remove the labels from everything and watch it like things sort itself out. And it's like, yeah, but if you do that, a lot of people who don't know any better are just going to get killed by stuff.
Sure.
Like you get these people who make the arguments of like, what if we got rid of the FDA or whatever and the regulations? And it's like, yeah, but you say that, but then your kid's gonna like eat a McChicken McNugget and then he's gonna like eat a staple because there's a staple in it. And then you're gonna be like, my kid died because he swallowed a staple and he bled out. And then I'm just gonna have to look at you and be like, well, he shouldn't be eating a staple. What do you want from us? He ate a staple. Like, it was in the food. It's not our problem. Like, it just happened to him. And it's like, well, that's what happens to a lot of people in these kinds of games is like, they don't know they have a gambling addiction or they fall into gambling or they're kids and they just feel like it's a good purchase or they're bad with their money or they're pressured or they're in a group and their group's friends are all doing it and they do it because their friends are doing it. Like, there's a million ways it can happen. And like as a society, or in this case, as a gaming community globally, like the gaming community, we shouldn't let these kinds of things happen in the interest of the people who can be hurt by them. You know what I mean? Like, if I put a game out today and I charge people, it's a free game, and then I charge people $5 for like a retry, and it's just some dumb like Get Down the Mountain game or some stupid shit, and it's $5 a retry. There will be people who get it and then try it and then play it and they spend the money. Am I making money ethically on these people? Of course not. Like, my game's obviously designed to make people want to spend that money. And it's even worse when you've got a game where, like, you're invested, you invest time, you invest energy and money, a little bit here and there maybe, and then all of a sudden it feels like more and more like I can put more, it's okay if I do, I already did. They abuse the sunk cost fallacy, they abuse gamblers' logic fallacies. Like, we shouldn't allow that kind of thing. It's the loot box problem all over again. It's, adding DLCs to a game that only costs like, it's only a few dollars for this DLC, like track packs and Guitar Hero. Like, yeah, they're only a couple dollars each, and it's like, yeah, but that adds up. I literally wrote a paper on how Rock Band can cost you over $1,000 by the time you buy everything, which is wild for like one game.
Sure.
Like,
what is it? Other games like The Sims and Train Simulator are the same, where it's like, I think Train Simulator is like $10,000 or more just to like buy all the fucking trains in it, which I mean, that's a whole train nerds are depressing in and of themselves, and then they're spending that much money on.
Look, we just talked today about like one of my friends bought one pack of Magic cards for the new set, a collector pack, and it was $80.
Yeah, that's like, I can't justify that, but that's
the only reason that price is so high is because all the cards in the set are worth a lot of money. So it's like, it's that whole, and that goes back to the whole speculative arguments about like speculative things and gambling in that regard, and that's a whole thing I hate too. I don't think that should be a thing, but But oh boy, I could go on a whole spiel about like housing as a commodity and healthcare as a commodity and speculative things, and it all sucks. It's all bad.
Yeah.
So
commoditizing natural resources, that's my favorite.
Yeah. Oh my God, water stuff and everything. Oh my God. Yeah. But on a smaller scale, and more in line with our podcast, if the gaming community is going to let this thing happen, it's not going to be good because there's going to be people who are literally hurt by it, people who are in positions where they for whatever reason they're going to be taken advantage of by this system, and I don't think that's fair. I think when people defend Diablo Immortal, if they're defending the free part of the game, great. The free part of the game is great. You can play. I've been playing it for like a week straight, and I've been having a good time with it, and I think that's fine. But my main gripe is
the pay for part is absolutely immoral.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. This game could have been a $20 purchase on PC or $30 purchase on PC, and I would not have batted an eye. If somebody had been like, hey man, we're all gonna play Diablo Immortal, it's $30 on Steam, I wouldn't have batted an eye. I would have been like, yeah, let's all play Diablo Immortal or whatever. Obviously, the people having issues with Blizzard outside of this game, and some people don't want to give them money, and as a result, I get that. I tend to I don't think not buying Diablo or not buying like Chick-fil-A or not buying from Michael's is going to swing that company enough that it ever matters if I do it or not. I do understand that it sucks if I go to Chick-fil-A and get food from them because they push anti-homophobic bills, or they push homophobic bills, or Michael's and their bullshit with their crazy religious bullshit. But I also know that if I don't go to Michael's ever again, and I don't go to Chick-fil-A ever again, and I don't buy from Blizzard ever again, that company's not going anywhere because I didn't make that purchase. They're too big for me to like vote with my wallet for them. I can't vote Walmart out of existence by not going to Walmart. Like, I can't vote a Green Party candidate into office by being like, let's all vote for Jill Stein or whatever. That doesn't happen either. So, you have to take what's actually practical and work with what's actually existing. And so, if the developers at Diablo are working their ass off to make the Diablo game, even the free-to-play part, I don't mind like playing that game. I wouldn't mind buying a Diablo game to support the developers and stuff. I get it; they already got paid.
Sure,
but like they worked on it, they worked hard on it. They're happy with what they made, and you can't tell me the developers sitting in that chair were like making these levels and being like, "Great, awesome, I made the level. I can't wait to like get my cut of like scamming people out of the $2, $3 bundle at the end of the dungeon." Like, of course not. They're not going to see it. And they don't care about that stuff. They didn't design a dungeon because they know it's going to be cool to sell the bundle at the end of the dungeon. They liked that dungeon. They liked the aesthetic. They liked the boss fight they put in there. They liked the mechanics they made for the game. They enjoyed making the game. It's not their fault that the people at the top are shitty or whatever. So sure. I would say like my preferred protest vote for Diablo would be like play the free version all the way to like you get stuck, and then when it starts being like money is really like the only way to progress, just stop playing. And if everybody did that and you saw like 1 million players a day and nobody was spending money, I think they'd get the message.
Sure.
That they'd be better off charging for the game. I mean, you might even see that now because, like you said, they're making $1 million a day and they made $40 million so far. But, like, if I remember correctly, and quote me if I'm wrong on this number, Diablo 3 sales were like in the $700 million range. Mm-hmm. So they have not recouped Diablo 3 levels of sales on this game yet. And unless they keep making $1 million a day for the next 2 years, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, and that's
so I think they tested the water with this.
They boasted like huge download numbers, but it's like if you compare those numbers like on the App Store, it's not much.
Even comparatively, like, if you stack it against Genshin made way more money in a shorter time frame, and Genshin is not nearly as manipulative in the terms of like yeah, it's a gacha game, but if you dump $5,000 into Genshin Impact, you fucking got everything. Like, the odds are like you'll have everything before you hit that amount. Whereas in Diablo, you can pump $100,000 into that game to keep doing these little upgrades, and that's the difference. Like a gacha game is like, there's a limited amount of like these things that you want from it, and you're pulling out of that pool of resources until you get everything. Whereas Blizzard and Diablo has like an ocean of like upgrade, all the way down to like your gems can go all the way to like rank 5 or whatever. They go to like to top rank, and then they can go to the top star, like how many stars they have, and then you can awaken your gear, which is like a separate thing you have to do that makes them open to have more slots, and then you would fill them with more gems and then rank those gems all the way up. That's why you have these people who are like, I could spend $100,000 to level a character, because you literally would have to pay for all that stuff all the way to the end, and it's wild. It'd be like Final Fantasy charging for levels and being like, yeah, the level cap is 50, and it's like $1 a level, and then you hit level 50, and they're like, well, now that you're 50, you can pay your way to 60, but it's $2 a level, and then $3 from 70 to 80, and all of a sudden you're paying your way from level 150 to 160, and it's like $20 a level. That's like what Diablo's doing. They've got just such a massive track for you to get to the end of, and every step along the way costs a whole bunch of money. You would never finish that track if you were playing free-to-play unless you literally spent a year on it. And it would be the most meticulous year of your life of signing into Diablo Immortal so you could do bounties and bestiary things.
Sure. So
run like rifts that you didn't have good things for. Like,
if they, and this is a personal question directed towards you, if they release this game, but instead of having all this pay to win mechanics and loot boxes and all this shit, and they just did like a flat rate $60 on Android, would you pay it?
I don't know. If it was only on mobile, probably not. If it was like a Steam version or a PC version like it is now, I'm not super big on Diablo, but this could have been, in my opinion, if all the monetization was gone, and they left everything else in place, the shadows and the immortal system, all the stuff that's in that game right now, it could easily be a $60 game, in my opinion. It could have been a $60 launch title for like an actual game. And dude, like, my phone runs it, my computer runs it like butter. You could probably put this thing on the Switch at this point, and it would be fine. So I don't see why this couldn't have just been like a normal release, and I think they would have done better for it.
So my point is, I'm just doing rough dude math here, but
sure.
if they
I
have
would
over,
buy it for 40 easy. If it was 40
okay,
bucks, I would have been like, yeah, I'll play this with everybody.
fair enough.
60 is a little tight because for 60 bucks, I'm expecting it to be like usually when I buy a $60 game, it's a franchise that I care about. It's something
Sure.
I'm already interested in. And Diablo's not that for me. Although Diablo Immortal story is really good and actually makes me more wanting to play 4. I did not want to play 4 before I played Immortal. Let's put it that way.
Hmm.
Actually playing through Immortal and having a good time playing the monk character and using the skills and everything has me interested in playing 4.
So
So that's good.
here's kind of my point. And
Sure.
so they have over, just on the Android store alone, they have over 5 million downloads. So let's just say it's
Yep.
5 million flat.
Sure.
If they would have sold that game at $60, that would have been $300 million they would have made. So right now
Yep.
they're at 49 million. Now, of course, they're probably looking at the long run, as far as making more than
Yeah.
that. But even at $40, they would have made over $200 million at 5 million downloads just on the Android store.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
They boast having 10 million players, I believe, or 10 million downloads right now is what their numbers are throwing is.
sure.
So even at $40, like you said, 400 million bucks if everybody bought it for $40.
So
And
we would have had
now, granted,
probably one of the fewest premium experience, like one of the few premium experience games on mobile for like the first time. What do we have on mobile that's playable? That's what I would consider like a premium experience. Maybe Genshin Impact, maybe the Call of Duty they have on there. I mean,
it's mostly like, but even then, I think Genshin and Call of Duty are the same thing. They're games that are free to play games that you
right.
can gotcha for or like pay for.
Hmm.
And but it's the same thing. We talked the other day. Like we had a whole conversation about how like I could probably hop on Genshin Impact right now and play to the end of it, and then just be like, I gave myself a limit of 30 or 40 bucks to play to put into the gotcha system, and I'm
Right.
going to do that when the game forces me to do it, and I'll probably be able to play all the way to the end of that game just fine.
Hmm.
Obviously, like there'll be characters where it's like, man, wouldn't you want to have this guy, or this guy's really powerful, or this guy's really cool, he's the chase guy, but like if you can avoid that stuff, which obviously not everyone can. So, of
Sure.
course, me and you are privileged in the sense that we both know enough about this stuff to avoid the pitfalls. Um, but I think you could have like most people could have an experience in that game where like if Genshin Impact had come out with a hard price tag, I don't know if they would have made as much money because
At least
people
maybe
really
have like
like
a path.
waifus.
Like you could
But I
play,
think it wouldn't
you could
they
play
wouldn't
for
be in danger
free.
or anything.
What's up?
Yeah. They wouldn't be in danger. I don't think Genshin Impact would be considered a failure if it had been like a
No.
$40 or $60 title instead of being this premium like the what it is now, the gotcha.
Well, what they could offer like a free path and say, okay, here's your free path. You're probably going to have to spend some money along the way, or
Yeah.
here's the $60 pack that's going to guarantee everything you need to get from point A to point B to the end of the game.
Yep.
And then you have the
Absolutely.
option. But you never see that.
Yeah.
What you see is like you see the free to play market, and then you see like the starter packs that are $60, and a lot of that stuff's random gear, or it's
It's money for the gotcha machine or something. Yeah.
exactly, or it's gear that's just not, it's meant to get you like maybe a couple levels ahead of the curve. Um,
Right.
but yeah, it would
The
be
thing
nice to
that
see like a game that gives you that option. Like, okay, you can pay $60, get the premium experience, and get the game the way it's designed to be played.
right.
But
Well, that's I think what kills me about like Diablo Immortal in particular is like it's not like these other games like Genshin where it's like you could maybe sometimes you might want to put money into it because you think you'll get a good role in a character, you'll get a good character that you like, or you need like a certain element of character you don't have yet. I get that.
mhm,
That's one thing. But like Genshin, I could probably get through if I gave myself like a budget of like $40 to $60 and was like, I'll spend it when I need to spend it, and I'm going to the end of the game. I probably would have no trouble doing that. I'd probably make it
sure,
to the end of the game. Maybe there's like at the end of the game some variant dungeons that are like super hardcore dungeon requires an all 5-star team, and I couldn't do that. But it's probably just the same shit in the game that's already there,
right.
but like turned up to 11 with better drops coming out of it or something. I don't care. Um, but like,
For every person that can budget, there's probably 10 people that can't and dump
right.
hundreds of dollars into a game. I'm like, I don't know if I'm just getting old or what, but that is just that concept is just insane to me.
No, I agree, and that's one thing is like I think we could see like what's a good way to like put that because with a game like Diablo like the thing that kills me about that game isn't just that it's like oh, they offer you these bundles every so often, because every game I've played on mobile does that. Like, I played
Mhm.
Disney Mirrorverse, and that does the same thing. Every time I sign in, it offers me a couple things to play, like to pay money. And Disney Mirrorverse does the same shit. You've got energy, so you can only play so much a day. You've got to wait for it to come back. You've got different currencies that you use in the game. Like, you've got gold, and you've got orbs, and you've got like this other one. I forget what it is called.
Mhm.
A couple other different random ones like gems and shit. So like, if you want, you have your characters, right? So like Mirrorverse, for example, is like a three. You put it together a squad of 3 people, and you've got 4 roles: tank, support, which is basically a healer, melee, and range. So you put a team together, right? So you'd probably put like a tank, a healer, and one of the 2 damage classes, depending on what you're fighting or something. And it's your standard, like, you put them on the map, they fight automatically, they do their attacks on their own, they do their specials on their own. You're kind of just waiting to see the results of the fight. You can control a character at a time if you want to, a la like FF7 remake, where you can pick one dude and then run that guy around or something. um and that's basically the game, and it's fun. It's mostly like the team crafting is the fun part. Like, obviously the combat's pretty much automated, so you're just having fun putting the team together and seeing how they do.
Mhm.
um but like in the game, like, there's your character has a star rating, 1 to 5, and they give you some 1 stars and 2 stars up front, and then like every time you get a 1 star duplicate, they turn into like part of the next star, and like 1 star to 2 star is 20, and a 1 star is worth 10. So if you have a 1 star and you get 2 more 1 stars, now you have a 2 star. But then if you keep getting 1 stars, you need 170 to get to 3 stars. So 1 stars are only worth 10, 2 stars are worth 30, so you still need a bunch of them to get from 3 to 4 to 3 star, and then to
Mhm.
go to 4 star is like 500. Go to like, I have a couple 4 star dudes I got lucky on, and I'm never gonna see a 5 star unless I play this game for the rest of the year. Like, it's the same as Diablo.
And who wants to play these
I'm
games like this that aren't really all that involving in the first place?
Well, that's what kills me, is like, I'm having fun with the game, but I'm arriving at the point in Mirrorverse, same thing, where like everything's too hard to beat it, and the only way to really beat it would be to level the dudes up a little more, and the only way to really do that is to grind out a whole lot of stuff to level this person up, or a whole lot of stuff to rank that person up, or materials to keep cracking the crystals, which are the gotcha, and then whatever guardians come out of those crystals. Like, I have Elsa, who's a 4 star right now, and she's great, but if I want her to get the 5 star, I need like 500 and something of her tokens, and you only get like 10 or 30 per person you get of her, and it's a gotcha pool. There's 45 characters. So I'm
Mhm.
pulling at this pool, like, with the free resources they give me, pulling and being like, man, I hope I get like 20 Elses in a row so that I can get her to 5 stars, so she's strong enough to actually kill the dude in this fight that I'm trying to get through. Like, I haven't even finished the story for the game, the main campaign, and I'm already feeling like locked out of it. So like, I am still signing in and doing my shit every day with it, just to like, for the little bit of like increase that I'm getting. But that increase is trickling smaller and smaller, and I find myself less interested in signing in every few hours. And now I'm doing like the one a day, 2 o'clock. My shit reset. I'll go look at it, and it's doing what Destiny does to me, where it's like, it's Tuesday. I'll go look at it, and like, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't do it. Like,
Yeah,
so
I
it's that
haven't
same problem.
honestly since you've been out on vacation. I have not
Haven't
touched
touched it.
Destiny.
I
I
signed
just
into it.
I can't make myself play it, man. It's I can only enjoy it if like you and Daimyo or like friends are playing it. I just can't play it by
Right,
myself
right.
anymore, and I just have zero interest in it. Like if I'm doing anything, I'm on Final Fantasy, and that's just my shit right now. And then
Yeah, absolutely. But I think it's because Final Fantasy is very good about respecting your time. They don't
oh yeah,
make you feel like, because like even now we're still grinding to get our gear level up, but we don't need it for anything. We're not locked out of any content by not being
right.
600. So we're just doing it because it's fun to do the content that gets us to 600.
And like
Like,
there's not if you're bored in Final Fantasy 14, that's your own fucking fault. Like
oh,
there
dude,
is
like,
so
holy shit, it
much
is.
to do, and like now that Claire started playing again, I'm like, oh, I could tell her, I could
Do stuff with her.
yeah, do stuff with
Yeah.
her, but have like teach her how to do the retainers and do this and
Yep.
set up this, and I'm like looking back and it's like, oh my god, it took me so long to do all this. And like, there's so much to do, and it's like I feel like I haven't even scratched the surface of this game yet.
Oh yeah, dude. Dude, like before I went on vacation, me and you jumped into Eureka fresh and had never done it, and there's like a whole 3 worlds in there to do that we haven't done yet.
hmm
You still have 24-man raids you haven't done, 8-man raids you haven't done. I still have weapons I've never finished, like the legendary weapons, or the different ones you can get for those. There's still hard content I never went back and did. I
yeah.
mean, I only have one of the ultimates open, and there's 3 of them, 4 of them now,
Well,
and a fifth one
we've
coming.
spent
Jesus.
days opening content for me, like just doing like Eden
Mm-hmm.
raids and
Mm-hmm.
this stuff and this stuff. Man, there's just like I
And that's
just
what kills me is because like
you can't
I
do like
play
a
a sub
full
to
loop of
Final
that game in a day
Fantasy.
like you can in Destiny.
I
It's
I put
wild.
like over the course of a year, my sub fee is probably like $150 give or take because I do like $11.99 a month
Mhm.
all year long or whatever. And for that 140, and so think about it. That means I'm spending more than double, like 2.5 times what I would normally buy a game for, just passively every month to this game. But like the amount of content that's in that game is wild, and the amount of stuff they add to it with every patch is insane. The next
Yeah,
patch we're getting, like, so the next Final Fantasy patch, the normal dungeon, the extreme dungeon, the savage dungeon, a trial, 4 more raids, 4 hard raids which come out a week later, the whole island sanctuary bullshit that you can do. Your whole everybody gets their own
I'm there
island.
for it.
It's not you don't. It doesn't even cost money or anything. You just get it.
Right.
It's just included. It doesn't cost gil. Nothing. You just get an island. Um, it's like, dude, like if this stuff was coming, if anything even remotely close to this level of content was coming in Destiny, it would be like a $30 dungeon pack style purchase, and it would be 1/4 of it. It would be just the raids, or it would be just the island sanctuary or some shit. Like I pay $150 a year to play Final Fantasy 14, and holy shit, do I get my money's worth out of that game?
Hmm.
Because there's at least like 2 patches a year, sometimes 3 patches a year, and it's wild. And then in between those, they do other things, other fixes. They do events, like every month there's like the events. We do the holiday stuff. Like there's never not something to do in that game, even if you're like playing actively.
Sure.
It's wild. It's just wild how much is in that game. I have like what I think I looked up the last time was like over 3,000 hours in that game, and there's still a bunch of shit I haven't done.
That's wild.
But that just goes to show you, like, you could make a game like if Diablo Immortals was a subscription game, it would be a lot better. It wouldn't feel nearly as grifty and as scammy if people were just being like, I'm putting my $10 a month into Diablo Immortal and I'm doing all the content, and the content's open. You can get
Right.
crests, you can run stuff, you can do things, you can be a shadow and immortal. You can fight the immortal team without having to be like, well, did you pay a bunch of money to be the top team because it's the only way you're going to compete? Like, no, you can just play the game like everyone else does and compete on your skill or whatever. Like, and I would have no problem with Diablo Immortals being a $120 a year game on a subscription fee. I
Sure.
would have a problem with Destiny doing that if they did it that way. At least it wouldn't feel like shit every time I
Wouldn't
have
feel
to
as
like
bad.
buy a season
Right.
to keep playing.
And then a separate effect then for a dungeon that happens to
I'm
have
not,
an
I'm
exotic
not,
attached to it.
dude, that was so grimy. I can't believe people act like that wasn't a big deal. That was a $30
They
Galahorn purchase. I'm sorry. I
Yeah.
don't care that there
Oh,
was a dungeon
100%.
attached. It was a
100%.
$30 Galahorn purchase.
Absolutely it was.
That was the only reason why it was in there, because that could have
Yep.
been that the Galahorn itself could have been in the regular loot pool, and
Could
nobody
you
would have bought that $30 pack,
would
or
the
at least
rest of
not
that
nearly as many people.
would the rest of the people bought any of that if the Galahorn wasn't attached to that? Probably not as well. Not even
Well, even then,
close.
if you do the math out, the dungeon key was $20 for 2 dungeons, right?
I think
And
so.
yeah, so the dungeons are $10 a piece, and the current dungeon has an exclusive exotic weapon, the Heartsbane sword. So an exclusive exotic, a dungeon, and a bunch of gear that comes out of the dungeon, weapons and stuff, all these nightmare weapons we're getting, and the social space, and then the 6-man activity. I mean, I guess, well, those are separate because that's seasonal stuff.
But
But like
in
the dungeon
D1
and
you
the
just
exotic
got all
that's
that.
in the dungeon, well, that's what kills me is like all that stuff was always included, and even in D2, when I bought Forsaken, the dungeon just showed up one day. It was
Yeah.
part of the content that we
Part of
bought.
the storyline.
When you bought Forsaken, it was like when you bought Forsaken or an expansion, it was a 1 year purchase for content. Remember, seasons used to be a year. A season pass for a game was a year.
Hmm.
Call of Duty season passes were a year. Like, and people gave them shit for that stuff, like $50 for the season pass for Call of Duty, and you'd get map packs all throughout the year or whatever. Now Destiny gets away with like being like, yeah, the season pass, and it's like good for like 60 days, 90 days,
Hmm.
and it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess I can just buy the whole thing up front, sure, but even then, what is it right now? It's I bought it for 60 on sale, and I didn't get the Galahorn content. I think, or no, it was 80 on sale. Yeah, it was 80 because it's normally like $100. The
Hmm.
expansion, the seasons, the dungeon pass thing. It's just wild.
Still
Like,
felt bad, right?
imagine having to piecemeal that. Imagine if like someone got into Destiny right now and they're like, "What do I do?" And I'm like, "Oh, buy Witch Queen. It's $40." And they're like, "Okay, what do I do? I need these other things." I'm like, "What are they?" And they're like, Shadow Keep. Yeah, buy Shadow Keep. That's like $40 or whatever. Maybe less now, but like still. Oh, okay. What about Beyond Light? Yeah, yeah. Buy Beyond Light. You're gonna want the subclass things too, and you're gonna want this and that and the other. Like, okay, yeah, sure. So now they're like $120, $100 into like all the seasons, all the expansions, and then they go to play with me, and they're like, "Why can't I go where you are and do the thing you're doing?" And I'm like, "Oh, it's a season thing. You have to pay for the season. So like, buy the season for $10, or buy the whole season pack for like 40 and get all the seasons or something." And they're like, "Okay, I bought the expansions, and now I bought the seasons. What are you doing? Why can't I do this with you?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm doing the Gallahorn thing. That was an extra $30 on its own." And they're like, "Okay, I guess I'll put $30 more into like buying the Gallahorn pass or
Right.
whatever." And then so you clear you out of that, and you're like, "All right, let's go do duality next." And they're like, "What the fuck is duality?" And you're like, "Oh, it's the dungeon, the new dungeon they just gave us. It's part of the dungeon key, which is a $20 purchase." And they're like, "I've made like 10 purchases just to play like one night of Destiny with you guys."
Yep.
like,
And it
like
feel like
one normal
I
night.
cannot in good faith recommend Destiny to people because I'm like, oh,
I
I
don't.
can go into it like, yeah, it's free to play, but there's a caveat to that it's like,
And their free to play is so scummy too, because it's like it's
yeah,
almost nothing, and it doesn't give you anything. It doesn't feel good. And
right,
like, remember before I paid for it, I was playing the free to play track, and I couldn't do the free to play stuff with you guys, like Vault of Glass, because I wasn't high enough light. And the only way to get my light high enough to do Vault of Glass with you guys was to like bang my head against the Nightfall Strike for like a month straight, which I did.
yep,
And then yeah, like I finally caught up to you guys, and then I was like, fuck it, I'll just buy Witch Queen at this point. And it was like but I like I had to spend a month grinding to catch up to the point where I could even run the free content with you guys. Because
yeah, you're
yeah,
not
like the
wrong.
free raid and the free dungeon are both like at whatever it was at the time, 1260 or something, which was like getting to 1260 was like just a grind, like
Getting
a
to
crazy grind.
1260 and then having masterwork gear that makes sense
Oh
for
yeah,
your
yeah,
build.
absolutely.
You know, that's the other part of it. It's like it's too like the gear is too randomized for like the climb that you have to do for one. But
Yeah,
that's a whole
it's
gripe for
it's
another time, I guess.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's just I guess circling back to Immortal, it just feels like Immortal took the monetization like not the actual monetization itself, because it feels like that stuff's mostly in line with other games, with the exception of like obviously the $100 purchase is pretty wild,
Mhm.
and but the kicker though is that a lot of the game is built around like the game will put you in a situation where you're like, oh, you're not a high enough level to do stuff, or you've got nothing to do this week. The only thing you can really do now is the rifts, and the rifts are only really worth doing if you pay the real money for the legendary crests. So you feel like you have to do that. And then, if you want any shot at the immortal slash shadow part of the game, which is like a weird PvP thing that you just get rolled into automatically, and then that's why it's called Immortals. Like that's the game, right?
Mhm.
Like, um, to engage with that system, you have to be in the top 10 shadow guilds, and to be in the top 10 shadow guilds among all the people that are playing Diablo Immortal right now, you better believe you and the people in that guild all have to be paying real money. There's no way you just randomly luck your way into a bunch of free to play players who are all happen to be strong enough to like compete with other players, because it's literally PvP.
Sure.
You actually fight the other players from the other teams, so it's literally the top 10. It's the number 2 to 11 teams competing to see who can challenge the number 1 team and take that spot from them. Maybe that's it. Like
Like
that's the end game to
make
this
that a whole
game.
separate
Like it's
fucking game
wild.
then. Like I just it's so weird.
I like I can't even imagine if the Immortals was the top 1% of guilds,
Mhm.
and there's 10 million players and everyone joins a guild, so there's like 20 players in the guild. That it's what 10 million players. I don't know. It'd be like something like half a million guilds or some shit if everybody found one, which is probably not going to happen.
Mhm.
But like if everybody got in a guild, you'd have half a million guilds fighting to be the only one and only immortal guild. Like that seems insane to me.
Right.
That like that's like Trials of Osiris literally only letting one team go to the lighthouse. It's like what? Could you imagine if Trials of Osiris literally was like an event that ran for a week and the one team with the highest score got to go to like the fucking lighthouse? It's like what? And there was rewards. Remember, the Immortals team gets to buy extra legendary crests, extra legendary gems, etc., 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 from a special tab that's only available to them. So, like, holy shit, dude! Could you imagine like the incentive to want to be on top of that? If you're a person who cares about that competitive stuff, like some
Sure.
of our friends do, you would be paying out the ass for that, or you just wouldn't interact with it.
Let's like
And there's obviously people paying, so it's like,
Well, there was a good Vice article, and I know good Vice article is an oxymoron, but they mentioned here it's like they said Twitch streamer Quinn69 made headlines after he blew roughly U.S. dollars $15,000 trying to get a 5-star legendary gem in Diablo Immortal, only to
Yep.
delete his character days later and say, "Fuck this dog shit game. Seriously, fuck Blizzard. Everyone delete your accounts." He said. Other users have reported they've
Yeah.
spent $50,000 in a day. Even players who
Hmm.
didn't spend thousands on this game still said they ended up dropping over $600 between cosmetics and useful items to make their character more powerful. According to Kotaku, initial statements that maxing out a single character would cost as much as $100,000 on a low end, and I think they actually revised those numbers. Like, oh yeah, it's more than that.
They said it was higher
Can
after.
actually
Yeah.
outrun upwards of $500,000. Like, how can
Yeah.
I can't wrap my head around that at all. That's insane to me. I'm sorry.
Plus, that's what's wild is like it can take so much to upgrade these gems all the way to like the top rank or whatever, the top level, and so you've got the actual ranks, but then you've also got the stars. The star counts are different from the ranks, and they both need to be brought up all the way to the top if you want them to be optimized. Um, and then you have like your gear. You can like once you get your gear to like the top rank, you can awaken the gear, which gives it more spots for more legendary gems. So like you've got what 6, maybe 8 slots on your right side that can all have legendary gems. You'd have to get all those to 5-star and top rank, and then get the gear to top rank, and then ascend the gear, opening up more slots in the gear for more legendary gems, which you have to get all of those to like. You see where this is going?
Mm-hmm.
Well, like that's insane. Um,
And like that executive saying that only 99.5% of the game is free, the other 0.5%. Why does that 0.5% of the game cost $500,000 to play?
well, and the
That's the
kicker for
problem,
me,
and they will
like,
never address that.
well, imagine if you sat down and had a talk with this guy, and you're like, "What's the name of the game?" And he goes, "Diablo Immortal." And you're like, "Why is it called Immortal?" And he's like, "Well, because we have this cool thing where like you have all the shadows and they all fight, and then the top team every month becomes the Immortal team, and they're like on top for a month." And it's like, so the game is literally themed around, named after, and designed around this concept of this sort of PvP mechanic, where
Mm-hmm.
like the top team is like the Immortals or whatever every month. Like, how do players engage with this mechanic? And it's like, well, they'd have to win against all the other teams that they'd have to fight to like be on the top. They'd have to do activities to be on the top 10, and then they compete or whatever. And then the number 2 team at the end of the time gets to like literally like PvP fight the Immortals, and if they win that fight, then they get to be the new Immortals. And it's like, so you would have to be literally the best players in the game, like gear wise, skill wise, both or whatever. At least like you couldn't like skill your way through that fight if your gear wasn't on point. Like you're not like making up that difference or whatever.
Sure.
Um, so you're telling me that the game is named after the system, and the system is designed to literally only have like the strongest people in the game, like 20 characters tops, a guild of 20 characters, be represented as like the quote unquote immortals at the top of the thing here, and you have an unlimited way for people to put money into this game in the form of buying all these things like platinum and buying these legendary gems and all these things, and you don't think that's like a problem? Like even games like even the Mirrorverse game that I play for Disney has like caps where like you can only buy like a certain thing once, or you can only buy certain things so many times or whatever. Like I think that's another thing. I think Diablo Immortal doesn't have any sort of caps, and that you can just go wild with it,
Mm-hmm.
which is usually a problem you see with gotcha games. Gotcha games also usually let you just keep rolling forever, which is a problem. Um, but I think the fundamental difference here is that gotcha games are like lotteries where like you're pulling, until you get the thing that you want, and it might take a few pulls, and then you feel bad because you spent some money. Whereas like Diablo isn't like a big pool where it's like you're trying to get lucky by pulling a thing you want. The goal is to pull everything out of there by doing the entire multi-step process of upgrading your gear all the way. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like you're not fishing in there and being like, yeah, there's 20 legendary gems and I only want this one. I'll just fish till I get that one legendary gem. It's like, no, you're fishing to get all the legendary gems because you need to break them all down to fuse them into them, and then up in the next thing and then fuse them into them and then ascend your gear and then fuse that into there. Like the goal is to just continually use these as a means of improvement. Whereas like in Genshin, if I go and I do Genshin pulls and I do 3-4 pulls, and on my fourth pull I get max level lightning dickhead, I'm never looking at that again. I have the dude.
Right.
He's where he needs to be now. Like, he dropped out of the thing for me where he needs to be. Legendary gems, you can wear 8 of them. More than that once you ascend your gear. Then it's like 16 or 24. I don't even know how many slots they open up to. But it's wild. I mean, I could go on forever about this
Sure.
system. It's just because it's not necessarily the monetization on its own face. Obviously, that's been a problem in the community of gaming already. It's the two things that are new about Diablo Immortal that are a problem are how it's open ended. You can just go forever,
Mm-hmm.
and there's nothing stopping you from spending $20 on a Rift run over and over and over and over. You could literally just sit there, and I could sit there tonight and spend, I don't know, 10 minutes clearing a Rift and $20 a Rift. I could spend 600, $720 in an hour just doing Rift runs, which means I could probably put my entire rent into like a 9 to 12 run of just paying for this fucking
Sure.
shit. And then it wouldn't be like I was done. I put $2,000 into Diablo Immortal in one night, and it's not like I beat the game completely because I paid
No,
$2,000.
there's plenty more things to spend money on.
There's plenty of more for me to put money into.
Yeah, that's bad.
And I think the fact that it's unmitigated like that is a big problem. Because at least if like there was mitigations, like yes, people can spend up to $50 a week or $200 a month on stuff in the game, and then it cuts them out so they can't spend any more. I still think that's bad, but that's significantly less worse than being able to spend 25 grand to be the best player on your fucking server.
It's a lot better
and
than
then just
ruining
people
your
and being
fucking
immortal.
life over, like financially.
Right. And I
for
think
people
like,
that don't have self-control.
It's just what's a good example for this? Like, it'd be like if a person had like, I'm not sure if that really works. Imagine like a person that has like a bottle of poison on their counter, and it's not labeled, and anyone can drink it. Like you've got like a bunch of drinks on the counter that are all labeled as drinks, and then there's one more that's like poison, and they'll tell you it's poison. Like, okay, well you have a daughter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was there ever a point in your kid's life where you had to be careful about your kid just finding like a bottle of bleach and drinking it? Like you couldn't keep it under the sink, or you had to move it, or you had to lock it, or something? Because even though most people know that drinking bleach kills you, there are some people who will still try it, right?
Right.
Like, we all have our gonzo. We all have our friend who's going to do the dumb thing because they can do the dumb thing. Or they're too little to know better. Or they're not mentally able to know better. Like, they've got a mental deficiency or something. Or a deficiency in their habits. They have a greed thing. They have an addiction thing. They really like Diablo and they want to be the immortal. They're really sold on that idea.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever. The fact that it's unmitigated and they're just allowed to let it go as much as they want, I think is a big part of that problem.
It's the people. It's the people that see a public bench with a sign on it that says wet paint. They have to go touch the fucking bench, and that's
Right.
those are the people that are going to spend $50,000 on it, and then all of a sudden they've wrecked their life over a fucking a mobile game for gems. Like, come on, like that's just bad shit, insane to me. I'm sorry.
Well, and the thing that kills me is I dislike the argument when they say like, because people do like that you don't have to spend the money, and it's like, well, yeah, of course you don't have to spend the money, but like I'm drinking Mountain Dew and I don't have to drink Mountain Dew, and drinking Mountain Dew is not good for me, and I know it's not good for me, but I still do it. It's a learned behavior from when I was a younger person, and it's not going anywhere without like some serious effort on my part. But it's a slow burn. It's gradually bad for me. I'm putting on weight over time, but it's taking years. I'm losing, maybe I'm losing energy because I'm drinking sugar every day. But it's not like I don't drink a Mountain Dew and then vomit and be like, oh, I'm never doing that again. Like, nobody goes into Diablo Immortal and spends $2 and says like, wow, this actually felt shitty. I'm never doing that again. No, it feels fine.
Right.
And then when you do it, so like you do it again and you do it again.
No one has to spend the money on it, but they didn't have to use a very popular IP either. It's all marketed.
Well,
let's not pretend like this isn't marketed. Like,
yeah, and that's the kicker is I think like you said, there's ethics in game design and there's ethics in gaming as a community, and I think that some things breach that line of ethics, even if it's not like a legal thing. There's no regulations against it or something.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that we can't look at a thing and be like, it shouldn't be able to be like that, even if it is like that, even if that's allowed. Because this is the same argument of like, well, they don't have to spend the money, right? And that's the same argument you'll get from people where it's like,
they don't have to make the game
remove
addictive.
the labels thing. Well, it's like in anything. It's like well, if you don't like, if what was it like? Was that drink Four Loko that came out where
Mhm.
like kids were dying because they would pound two Four Lokos back to back and then die of alcohol poisoning?
Yeah.
And they were like, there were people who were like, well, duh, don't drink Four Loko, five head. And it's like, but people are dying because some people don't know better, and some people like it's like seatbelts. Like, we don't take away seatbelts and be like, just don't crash your car, five head. Like, no, like
Right.
we know, like these things don't need to be there in a lot of cases. I've never had an airbag deploy on me in my life, but I know that I'm safer with that airbag in my car.
Sure.
Like, I wouldn't just pull out the airbags and then like sell it for $20 to some dude at a garage and be like, just don't get in an accident, duh. Like, it's the same concept, right? Like you're letting a system exist that has bad outcomes for people without really a justification. Like, what's the justification for Diablo letting people spend so much money and
Right.
potentially screw themselves over for what? Like, what's the good that comes from this? Do we have a good? Is there a positive that outweighs this negative? Because as far as I can tell, the only positive that would come from this is Blizzard making money, which I don't view as like a positive in general.
Sure.
This money's not going to the devs. They're not cutting bonuses to people because Diablo's doing well. They paid the devs. The devs are probably off this project already, or they have a
Oh, a
team
large
working
chunk
on
of
some
them are,
parts of
yeah.
it. Yeah, and it's not like I put $10 into Diablo Immortal tonight, knowing that the people at the studio are going to get a cut of it, and I feel good supporting those people. This isn't
Sure.
a mom and pop joint. I'm not going to you know, give them money directly every time I buy something in Diablo. Once they set this up, those people get cut loose, and Blizzard collects the money from all these purchases for the rest of the time or whatever. So it goes back to the same argument that I hate to hear, which is like, who cares if we let bad things happen? People can just avoid the bad things by not doing the bad things. And it's like, okay, but
Sure.
you could sell me a product and be like, yeah, 10% of these TVs are gonna explode, but like it only explodes if you leave it plugged in all night. Then just unplug your TV at night. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, but then what happens when someone forgets to? What happens when someone doesn't come home because they get in a car crash?
You didn't have to
And
buy
then all
it.
of a sudden their TV is on fire at home because they were in a car crash. It's not their fault. So what if like someone's got a gambling addiction? What if someone's got a kid and the kid hits purchase and it just
And that's
goes?
that's
Like,
the point I made earlier. Well, it's like there's people that have never set foot in a casino, have never pulled a arm on a
mm-hmm,
slot machine, and they don't know that they have that affliction.
mm-hmm.
And then this is just
And they
that.
probably would tell you no. They'd be like, I don't even gamble.
Right.
And it's like, do you open Genshin packs? And they're like, well, yeah, like 20 a week. And it's like,
Yeah, it's just, they don't
that's
know.
gambling. Like,
Right.
it may not be framed the same way, but it is. Like,
Sure.
but yeah, it's just one of those things where it's like, I dislike when people make the argument that they try to make it like a personal responsibility argument when you can make that argument for like you can have like just an open hole in the ground that like literally falls to a spike pit to your death, and people will be like, well, just don't step in the hole, duh.
Yeah.
It's like,
There
or
comes
we
a
could
point
maybe not have death
where,
holes in the ground,
yes,
like.
there comes a point where there should be more onus on the predatory behavior than the people that are getting caught in the trap. I just
Well, that's why I go back to like the argument of like what's the positive? Like, Blizzard making money isn't a positive. It's the goal of their company, sure, and they're going to use that money for other things, sure. But like the individual harms that can come to like if an individual gets their life screwed over because they dumped money into Diablo, that's not offset by like Blizzard doing well this quarter. That doesn't matter to me.
mhm.
Blizzard's going to do well anyway. Blizzard could have put this game out for $60 and done well. Blizzard could have put this game out for $40 and done well. Blizzard could have put this game out for $20 and done well. They did not have to do this. You can spend 25 grand, 50 grand, 100 grand, no limits, garbage. There
Right.
could have been limits and they still would have been fine. And I think that's the thing for me is like putting limits on it doesn't really harm Blizzard. They're still going to make plenty of money on it. They're going to be just fine. It's like taxing Elon Musk 1% more. That dude's not going to die for having to pay an extra 1% in his taxes.
Right.
But if that money went into an actual system that was going to help people, a lot of people's quality of life could be improved at the not even noticeable detriment of one person.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's the outcomes thing for me. I'm all about like the outcomes and about the actual harms or benefits. And it seems like there's a lot of potential harm for leaving a mortal system unchecked like this, and there's no benefit.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
Well, let's move on. We'll
yeah, I could circle that one
yeah,
forever.
let's. I'm sure we could. Yeah, we could spend more time on this, and if more comes of this, we'll certainly come back to it. But But yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll check it out. Maybe I won't. I certainly won't spend a dime on it. That is for damn sure.
I'll tell
Um,
you, like the way I do it, like if you want to play it, me and Jace both play. Creature obviously plays, and I'll hop on with you and do some stuff with you. It is fun.
mhm.
I would say it's worth engaging with the free content because the game is fun. But and obviously, like you said, if you're not going to spend the money, then great, that's good too. Um, I think I did spend $2. I will be upfront with you, and that's because um, actually I think I took the idea from you. You had mentioned that you do like the Google rewards,
Mhm.
and you get like the little chump change for doing like surveys and stuff.
Yeah, we got like $26 on there right now. I might just dump it into a Magic Arena or something, but I don't know.
Oh, there you go. See, what I do is I just every time I trip over like $1, I put it into like a mobile game. Like I do a
Mhm.
dumb like 99-cent purchase or something.
That works.
But it's usually like what I usually end up doing is I'll go buy a game that's like $1 on the App Store, and that's why I have like those like weird escape games that are like 99 cents. They're actually pretty cool. It just sucks that like I feel bad for those developers because being behind the 99-cent gate, I think makes a lot of people not play them. Whereas if they
Sure.
were free, people would play them. But if they're free, obviously, like
They
we're
don't have
talking indie devs, dudes who
any
are
money.
charging $1 for
Right.
a game. Those people literally need to make that dollar for me if they're gonna like put food in their table.
Sure.
So like, I don't feel bad about that stuff.
No doubt.
Um, but yeah, no, I think you should give it a shot. Play the free to play. I'll play with you if you want. It's fun, and you'll see what I mean. That like when people say like it's a really good Diablo game couched in a lot of bullshit, it's literally what it is.
Mm.
It's the best Diablo experience I've ever had up until I get to the point where it's not gonna be. I know it's coming. I'm sure it's coming.
Sure. All right.
But
Let's move on. We saw some talk on Twitter about this one. That's for sure. That would be Polium. I can't even pronounce the damn thing. Um, Definitely looks like what I have here behind me, kind of like a rehash of the Ouya. Um, so this is I guess the first blockchain console. So we already see where this is going, of course. So let's dig into this. I got some screenshots here. Um,
hmm. I didn't.
so
I think I only caught little. I didn't see much about this going around, but I have like. I'll be honest with you. I have kind of made not like made a habit of blocking crypto people, but like people who are obnoxiously crypto. I've
sure,
been kind of just blocking as I see them. So I
I
may have just missed it because of that.
right. I watch it to kind of be aware of like the abreast of the scams, I guess you could say.
That's fair. I think for me, like people talk about like spoons for stuff. I don't have spoons for crypto people. I don't want to bother with them.
Sure, I get you.
Like
I get it.
it's like my biggest thing is like it's one thing if people want to have a debate or a discussion about a politic thing or about like a gaming design thing,
Hmm.
I'm all for it because they're willing to learn and listen. In my opinion, from my interactions with crypto bros, they are the least likely to change their mind on anything you
Oh,
tell
sure,
them.
sure.
Especially like, dude, remember that guy you were talking to about Axie Infinity and how it was like groundbreaking and all this
Oh,
shit he was going
we'll
on
certainly
about?
bring that interaction up too, because that was like
I wonder where that guy is now.
that was me starting shit with like some really shitty looking multiplayer game, like a futuristic looking
Blockchain game or something,
blockchain,
right? Yeah.
like Modern Warfare kind of game. And
Yeah.
I was like, this game looks like shit. Like I just straight up said that. Like I watched the trailer, I was like, I'm gonna give this thing a fair shake. I looked at the trailer, I'm like, this looks like a fucking college project. And
Hmm.
we'll get into that in a second. But let's get back to the
Sure.
slideshow here. So we saw this kind of pop up, and the Twitter account already looks sus. I love the two underscores. That really makes it valid.
It's
We
like spice, right? It's like
Yeah,
salt.
yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. We're introducing the Polium One, a multi-chain console with Web3 gaming. They kind of go in here and kind of dict with it. They're talking about the stats, and it says wallet button quickly to access your wallet while in game. Like speaking of like just shitty business practices, like that just feels gross already. Headphone jack to voice chat, sensitive touchpad, haptic feedback, fingerprint sensor. These are all like, should these be perks? Like I don't know. The controller looks like absolute dog shit, and I guess you can't see my pointer, but I don't know if the touchpad is supposed to be in the middle of the D-pad and the buttons there, if that's all space to touch or what, but oh,
I don't know. That looks weird like that.
it does.
Huh.
So we saw some Twitter people kind of calling them out. So originally they said it was a 4K HDR, high dynamic range console, and someone replied, "Oh wow, 8K 120 FPS with ray tracing HDR. That totally doesn't sound completely impossible for an independent studio to do on a system that small, completely ignoring the NFT bullshit and the fact that you're using stolen game artwork in your promotional material, which we have seen with NFT stuff time and time and time
All the
again."
time. If they can't get people to create for them, they just jack
Yeah, if they
something.
can't find like something they can asset flip, then they'll just take whatever the fuck they want.
Yep.
It's gross. It's so gross. And then someone else pointed out, not to mention those newly created accounts with NFT-style profile pictures making generic psychophantic commentaries. Not at all suspicious. I love these comments, too. A multi-chain console is what I need. Totally enthusiastic. Every gaming players will love this for sure.
Every gaming player
Yes.
will love this. It sounds like a bad dub, like it got
Exactly.
translated forward and backward.
It's going to change my gaming, because that's how people talk.
Yeah, that's what I say. I always talk about like how the new console is going to change my gaming.
Yeah. I'm
Like, 'cause
surprised.
I treat gaming as an independent thing that I do with different generations each time.
Right. This is nice. Bro, that's really cool.
This is nice.
So that's
I don't believe any of this.
so that's what we were like. I was talking about when we were like, I got into that scrap with those play that whatever that company was. Like all of a sudden, out of the woodwork, all of these like bot accounts came after me, and they were all like liking each other's comments so that they could get like the engagement. And you could tell like they were all just like cycling through different accounts to like talk to me, and it's like, come on, man, like this is shady as shit. And then I got into like that one fight with that one specific guy that tried to dox me, and he was like, Axie Infinity is the next best thing, this and that, and it was embarrassing. And then what was it, 2 weeks later, Axie Infinity's like, we're going bankrupt because someone hacked into our system and stole all the money. And it's like, oh wow, that's just poetic fucking justice. If I
Dude,
ever
not
saw
even
anything.
just that. That was bad too. But like even outside of that, like the economy for Axie Infinity was built on this. It's the same sort of thing you see in capitalism, where it's like hyper nonstop success is required.
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't happen
Right.
ever in a system like that. And you saw in Axie Infinity, like the value of all the things started going down, and you hit that downward spiral where everyone's trying to get out because everyone else is getting out, and everybody gets out. And then people are like, well, just wait till it gets low and then buy it when it's low. But the problem is that there's a lot of people still holding, waiting for it to climb back up from low so they can sell. So when it starts to come back up, they sell.
Mm-hmm.
And then everybody sells again, except for like the people who hold on.
Yeah,
and you
so
get this periodic, like, you get this like floor crawl where you're never going to actually recover.
Mm-hmm.
Like the momentum's gone. And it's like you see it with any speculative market ever. The only times you ever see like speculative markets recover from that is when there's like a tangible thing like housing, like where whether you think that's garbage or not, because I think that the speculating with housing is garbage.
Sure.
But like
100%.
At least it's a living thing that people need, and people are eventually forced to engage with that market again. Food, water, clothing, shelter, technology, things like that.
Right.
When it's like a digital thing, like a game currency or a coin or like
or just a picture of a monkey.
Yeah. Oh yeah. But you know what I'm saying? Like there's no one gets forced back into the market because of a thing like I need it to live or I need it to survive in or something like that. That doesn't happen with digital goods. So those digital goods never recover. They can't. There's no incentive to recover.
Mm-hmm.
So it's called the sleeping dragon fallacy, where you've got people waiting to unload their stuff for less of a loss, and as the recovery starts, they bomb the recovery by unloading their stuff. Like
I can finally break even on this dump, and then it'll kind of like trying to do it on this plateaus, then it goes down, plateaus, and it keeps going down, and like you might see it go up a little bit, then it goes back down, and then it's I see it all the time.
Yeah, anything that has like a hard crash, like a rock bottom crash, never recovers. 100%. That's the only reason I think like things like Bitcoin are still going to any extent, is because while Bitcoin did dip, it didn't like bottom out. I think if Bitcoin ever bottoms out and everybody backs off of it, it'll never come back up again.
Sure.
It can't. It just can't.
I guess people could argue that there is some utilitarian good from Bitcoin itself, but this other offshoot, like the
Right.
NFT stuff, is just it's nuts. And is there anything out there that hasn't been a scam so far? Can I like one example of one NFT project that has not been a scam? I'd love to see it.
Nope. The closest thing we've had to a legitimate NFT project would have been like Ghost Recon Wildlands,
Ubisoft,
and even
right?
that one was
They
like
backed
they
off,
made a bunch of money and then they backed off of it because
right?
they knew it was like
They saw what was
probably because they
going
knew
to
it was going to
happen.
crash.
Mm-hmm.
They probably read the market ahead of time and got out of it, but they made
Yep.
a bunch of money beforehand, so it's whatever for them.
Yep.
Left other people holding the bag, but like that was like the only time I could think of that NFT market didn't crash, but instead the owners of it like backed out before it could crash
Sure.
and then just let it crash in their absence. Like, all the stuff became
100%.
worthless overnight.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man,
Which
it's
is why
insane.
I'm
Yeah,
surprised to see this, because it's like this is coming out, and like NFTs, they're dead. Like for all intents and
yeah,
purposes, it's completely dead. Um,
yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, we saw. Let me see if I can pull it up. But I remember there was like a thing showing like even just the interest in NFTs in general,
mhm.
like the search results or whatever. The interest in that was like it cratered, like it was no longer. Let's see if I have it right here. Hang on. Because a lot of people use Google Trends to watch these types of things, and it went from like, let's see, in April of 2021, popularity was sitting at about 20, 20, 25. It dipped in June down to like around 10, and then August, October, December, and then like around the holiday season, starting in August of last year, it spiked up to like 30, and then it spiked up almost to 60, and then it broke up to that, and it went all the way to 100, which is like the most popular it's ever been. Here, I'll throw this your way so you can see what I'm looking at. Um, and then you can watch like the cratering following that, where right now it's sitting at about 30 as of March. Actually, that was in March. I'm pretty sure that's outdated too. I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah, oh,
yeah,
yeah, I've
because
seen it.
like we heard more about it after that it was like cratering, right? So it's got to be even
Oh
lower.
yeah, 100%.
Um, NFT 4 days ago. Because I remember seeing articles, I think in May or June, about how it had cratered off. Oh yeah, right now it's sitting at like search volume 17,
Hmm.
which is the search volume that it had like not even the beginning of the year, like when it was done, when it was like not a thing anyone cared about yet. Yeah, yeah, it's wild. But no, yeah, we saw like everybody kind of got off the bandwagon, and of course like the Board Ape Yacht Club or whatever had like they got hacked more than once and they lost a bunch of
Convenient
their
too.
shit.
They're always getting hacked.
Like
It's like the most secure currency in the world supposedly is getting hacked left
yeah,
and right.
it's the WADA shit all
Isn't
over
that
again.
fucking
It's
magic?
like it's the WADA shit all over again, except that instead of hacking, it's like with WADA, it's like yeah, someone bought our game for like 1.5 million. Trust us, bro.
Right.
We don't know who they were, but
I
they were
got
a good dude and they recognized the value of this game.
I got
Anyway,
into
I got two more to sell for the same 1.5. Who else wants it? I
right.
mean, that guy will snag it again if you don't buy it. Like,
I got into an interaction with someone was just saying like the Earth is flat on Twitter in a some thread, and of course their profile picture is an NFT. I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
yeah,
So I just replied. I was like, average NFT bro interaction, and then he
I
replied,
think I saw that.
close your eyes, world going to end, and I just replied, laughs in not losing my life savings to a monkey picture. So
Oh,
I don't even know what
dude,
the fuck that meant to begin with, but
I will send you a video after this is over. I'm not sure. Well, you know what? After this is over, we'll watch the video together and tell me what you think.
I'm for it.
It's it's basically about it's a long story short. It's the Bored Ape Yacht Club origins and the members and everything. Um, you will not be very surprised to learn about their political leanings.
I mean either.
But
Grifter,
it's a
grifter,
good watch because holy shit.
grifter's gonna grift. All right.
Yeah, it's literally like alternate universe like Tucker Carlson didn't get left all of his money by his parents. So he started the yacht club to like take people's money. It's wild. I'll show you.
Nice. Let's get back to this slideshow here. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
we saw the fake accounts pop, and then they replied, a lot of criticism and mixed reviews. Web3 gaming will be the future.
Oh,
We will have a functional prototype ready before we take any pre-orders or funding. absolutely bullshit. I can already tell you that's bullshit. Um, what was it? The Atari VCS? Not the Atari VCS. It was something else similar. Another one of those like Atari Amico things. And they pretended to have a working prototype this whole time. It was like an NES. It was like a fake Chinese like SNES shell. Like they have the mold for like the NES or whatever. And it was like they pretended they had a working prototype this whole time. They couldn't go on Kickstarter because they couldn't prove their prototype worked. So they had to use the other the Indiegogo because they don't require like a working prototype and shit. Oh, it's this all over again. So
Yeah.
their big criticism obviously was like stealing the Nintendo GameCube logo. A lot of people are criticizing them like, "Whoa, gee, this looks an awful lot like the GameCube logo." We did not copy the Nintendo's GameCube logo. There are multiple companies that are using a similar logo, which kind of feels like the quiet part out loud.
Right.
But we will illustrate a new logo that is original. Because they have no problem changing up their artwork on the fly. So this is like the website net was now, and I guess they originally they had like the Apple Touch ID icon on there, which you can't do because it's not theirs. It originally said 8K, and then they like obviously they flipped that and changed that like on the fly as well. So, and this was what cracks me up here. It's a multilingual console. The console.
Oh yeah, we talked about that. Yeah. Oh my god.
The console will be able to do JavaScript, C++, because JavaScript is so hard to interpret. It was designed to be a universal programming language that you could use on any system.
I just love how it's like I've run games on my PlayStation 4 that use all of these.
Right.
This
is
is groundbreaking.
Yeah, this is the bar of expectations. It should do all of that.
This, you know what this feels like? They ran out of things to reach for, so they just started saying things that sound cool on
Exactly.
paper. Like how, like imagine if like PlayStation like announced like the PlayStation 6 tomorrow, and they were like, it's gonna have a power cord. You plug it right into your wall.
I was gonna go right there too. They couldn't even list off system specs. Like they had, like they couldn't, like there's nothing there. Like
it does 4K. How does it do 4K?
Yeah,
trust me, it totally does 4K.
Source, trust me, bro. I made it the 4K? Fuck up.
It does 4K through the HDMI port. Duh.
Yeah, duh.
Okay. It'll totally have.
Don't you have a 4K HDMI cord, bro?
Oh my god!
Wild.
Don't you people have USB-C? My favorite thing about that was the fact that they were like, it's totally not the GameCube logo, but we're gonna change it anyway. And it's like, well, if you did nothing wrong, then why are you changing?
Right.
What is?
I just love that other companies use this kind of logo too, and it's like, so you're admitting, so you know this, so you're admitting that this is a research thing, and you are well aware of how salient this whole situation is.
How it looked, yeah. I also like, that's actually a funny thing that a lot of people don't know much about, but I see it all the time in like politics and with big companies and stuff and marketing.
Mm-hmm.
That's actually a thing that companies do all the time. What's happening with those bots, like all commenting and saying how much they like it and everything.
It's astroturfing. It's a form of astroturfing.
Astroturfing. I had to write a paper in college over astroturfing. We had to talk about astroturfing, and I wrote one for a McDonald's. There was like a McDonald's in I think it was like in a European country or something where like it was coming for the first time, and the day that it opened, there was like a full house. They had like 500 customers. Everybody was ordering food. Everybody was saying the food was delicious and that it was great, and you know, yada yada yada. And literally, like the second day of business, they only had like 20 customers because nobody came. And it turned out that they had literally like put out paid ads in like the papers and stuff nearby, and had been like, oh, you know, free sandwich and fries at McDonald's if you just show up. They just give it to you that day, like it's just on the house or whatever. They were like, just they basically paid for a bunch of people's food to come eat that day. And then of course there was news articles. New McDonald's is a hit. New McDonald's has a record turnout. Look at all these people enjoying their food at McDonald's. And then like after that, like they were like, nobody went there, I guess, for like the whole rest of that week. And people like, and that's why it was even one thing that people noticed wasn't astroturfing and got caught so blatantly, was because nobody went the next day. And they were like, where are all these people that enjoyed McDonald's yesterday? And then you find out, like, people start digging, and they're like, well, these three people in this newspaper article, actually, they don't even live here. They live literally the next country over. Or they live the next county over. These people are never coming back. These people don't exist. They're not don't exist, but like they're not who they said they were. They're just people who were they showed up for free McDonald's and went home or whatever. But like on a global scale, when you read newspaper articles, it's like yeah, first McDonald's opened in country and it did like gangbusters, and it's like oh yeah, cool. Like it's you see that shit all the time, and it's crazy. Yeah, it was like a media literacy class talking about like how to watch for not fallacies, but like I can't think of a weird word for it, but like how to watch for shenanigans
Hmm.
like that.
So
Um,
it's
Fake
funny.
arguments or like fake evidence for an argument. Yeah.
It's funny that you bring that because a long time ago, maybe not too long ago, maybe 4 years ago, there was a picture that popped up on Reddit. Oh, we're making the VR, we're making our Uber Eats delivery driver play a VR game or something like that, and they had like a strategically placed McDonald's bag on the table, and like this lady had like a almost like a fake looking bite out of her burger, and then like the picture of like a guy playing a VR set, and it was like posted on Reddit, and
Hmm.
the comments were like, "Oh, this is interesting," and then it started growing into like, "Oh, wait a minute, this is an advertisement for McDonald's and Uber Eats." And like people like you see people like start picking it apart and realizing yeah, this was like a fucking guerrilla marketing campaign by McDonald's and Uber Eats to like advertise this shit, and it was
Hmm.
like non-organic whatsoever. I think they found out like the Reddit account was new and all this shit. I'll send you a link to it because it's pretty wild. But yeah, they started like
Yeah.
ripping it apart pretty hard.
Yeah. Like we see these like I feel like that's to an extent what happens with things like WoW that you get these things where it's like there's no way all these people actually like what you guys are doing. It's just some people are getting tricked into doing it, and everyone else is just kind of like it's like the whole point of a lot of times for astroturfing for bigger things like that is you can convince one person that they're buying into something that everyone's interested in
Hmm.
when most of the interest is made up and all of a sudden you've just got one dude on the hook for something because especially with things like speculative things like crypto because it's like everybody's doing it and then you do it and then you find out no one's doing it and then you
Right.
just got tricked into doing it like
Oh,
that's
100%.
wild.
Yep. So
I wish I could find
that's the
wish I could find the
Polium.
thing.
Um,
I'll figure it out later. There's a thing. There's a whole thing. I watched a video from Innuendo Studios. He's a dude who does politics videos, and he was talking about this thing where like um that ties into like the evidence thing was like, you know, if you ask a person like if you point to a table and you say what is it and they say it's a table, right? And you say okay, what makes it a table? I'm like, well, it's got its four legs, right? But if the legs are the evidence and the table is the claim, and you start removing the evidence one thing at a time, all of a sudden it's not a table anymore. It's just the plank. It's not supported, right? So
mhm.
it's not a table. Like a table is like a supported claim, and if it doesn't have the legs, it doesn't have the support anymore.
Sure.
And astroturfing allows them to fake that support for a lot of things. Like, you know, if I started a crypto coin right now, and me and you put together 100 fake email accounts and signed in with 100 fake Twitters, and we were all like, yeah, I use it and I made money, and I use it and I made money, and I use it and I just paid my car off.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden, someone's like, I'll buy some, and that person buys it, the legs in the table weren't really there. It was fake. Like we faked the whole thing and we convinced someone to get in on it. Um, Now, granted, you see it in politics. It's more of like a support your claims kind of thing, support your arguments kind of thing, where someone will be like, "Of course, this is what it is," because you know they'll point at it and be like, "It's a table," and you're like, "Well, none of those claims are true, though," and they're like, "They have to be true claims because it's a table. Like it's my argument. My argument has to be true because on its own merit." And it's like, no, and that's the whole thing you'll see people do with that. But
Sure. Well,
you see it with crypto all the time.
if there's
Crypto's the
anyone
killer
out
for me
there
with that.
with the that works for Polium or wants to come on to the show and talk about it and defend it, I'd love to have you on and we can talk to you about it.
Oh, two things. One, I looked up the actual at Polium without the underscores, and it's a
Mhm.
person with one follower who's never tweeted from 2017. So they couldn't get that guy to hand over that account or whatever.
I love it.
They
Well,
had to make the underscore.
I think they have two underscores under their name. It was a pretty long underscore.
Oh, I didn't look for like Polium with one underscore. It's probably also like a person from 2014 with no tweets. Um, Man, that's crazy. And then my other thing I thought was really funny about that whole thing is I almost want to like contact these people and be like, "Hey, put me in charge with your boss," and then they'll just like redirect me to Soldier Boy, and I'll be like, "I knew it." This
Got
guy
him
all over
again.
again.
Oh my
Got him
god.
again.
All right.
Stolen gaming like console icon strapped onto like a box that doesn't exist.
Nice,
Soldier
nice.
Boy, I tell him.
Well, let's move on. We've still got a lot of show left here, and it's getting late. We've got a big Square Enix story. Oh, not necessarily a story, but boy, are they releasing games like they own their own console.
Oh
Holy
yeah.
shit! So let's dig into that here. So we've got Stranger of Paradise coming out July 20th. Um, is that the DLC? I guess it's a DLC, the Trials of
Yeah.
the Dragon King. But Live
That's the
Alive,
DLC for. Oh yeah, yeah. That's the DLC for that
Strangers of
Final Fantasy
Final Fantasy
style.
Zero or whatever the hell, prequel to one.
It was like a Souls game, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. What it felt like.
Um,
Yeah, Live Alive. Oh boy.
yep. So,
Which go play that. Live Alive has 3 demos right now.
oh, that's right, it does. I should go play it. So, Sun God put this table together. Sun God 87. Live
Yep. Oh
Alive
yeah, of
coming
course,
out.
like you do.
Yeah, of course. Live Alive coming out in July. We have Final Fantasy 14. They're getting the patch. That's the another big content patch. It should be almost an expansion in and of
Huge
itself.
content. That's what I was saying before. Like it's like an expansion worth.
Right.
I won't go on.
That was at August 26th, I think that was slated for. This says late August, but I thought I saw August 26th somewhere.
We might have a date, but I'm not sure.
It would be a Tuesday, wouldn't it? Okay, so maybe the 23rd. 23rd would make sense.
Yeah, probably 23rd or 30th. Is there
Um,
30 days in? Yeah, there is. Yeah.
I don't
Something.
know. I don't pay attention to that shit anymore. We have the Diofield Chronicle. That's coming out September 22nd. 7 days later, Valkyrie Elysium is coming out September 29th. Near Automata, the End of Hora edition. So that's getting what is that? That's the one that's coming to the Switch as well.
That's coming to the Switch, and it's like got everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All the DLC and everything. Yeah.
Star Ocean Divine Force.
Mm-hmm.
That's coming out October 27th, so 4 days after my birthday. If anyone wants to give me anything, I'm just saying. No, okay.
Yeah.
So that's more of like an Enix title, but still a big thing. Just because we haven't seen a Star Ocean game in a long time, so I'm hoping that it's good because the last couple iterations have been pretty lackluster. Harvestella, which is kind of I guess the Rune Factory clone. That looks phenomenal. That almost looks like
I'm really sold on that game. Yeah, that one looks really cool.
Yeah, that looks unbelievable. So I'm definitely going to pick that up. I mean, I'm going to pick up most of these. Live Alive's already pre-ordered. I don't know too much about Diofield Chronicle. I'll have to look more into that.
Yeah, the name escapes me on that one too.
Near Automata, I'll probably try. Dragon Quest Treasures, that came out like left field. That looks really good.
Yeah, looks cool.
Forspoken, delayed till January now. But we still have Romancing Saga, the Minstrel Song Remastered. We still have Crisis Core coming out this winter. That could be ready for holiday. We don't know yet.
I think it will be. Yeah.
Final Fantasy 16 coming this summer, and then we have Final Fantasy 7 Rebirth. That is coming out later next year. So that is that's what we know of coming out next year. I mean, they could be peppering in more games, but I mean that's just a shit ton of games they have coming out. But I could see them wanting to delay Forspoken for a good reason here.
Yeah, Forspoken's going to go right up against Harvestella and Star Ocean and all that.
Sure. They're just competing
and maybe
against
Crisis
themselves.
Core. Yeah.
So.
And this doesn't even count. Like, there's still like on top of this stuff here. This still doesn't account for like Dragon Quest 12, which got announced and we know is in the works.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't account for Kingdom Hearts 4, which got announced and is in the works. This doesn't account for if we are getting a Final Fantasy 9 remaster or a remake of some kind, which there's a lot of speculation that was true and is going to be coming soon, like announced soon. This doesn't account for like if they make more Guardians of the Galaxy content. This doesn't take into account if they do more like what's the not Bravely Default, Octopath or whatever. They have other things in that. Oh, they have the HD2D engine they've been working stuff in, and I'm sure you'll see more things along that line. It's wild. They just have so much stuff. The fact that every time we talk about Square Enix, there's always a chunk of stuff we're not talking about because that's not current, and that's also still coming too.
Absolutely.
It's wild. Next year could be Final Fantasy 16, 7 Rebirth, Dragon Quest 12, and
and
Kingdom
Kingdom
Hearts
Hearts.
4, for all we know. Could you imagine?
That's insane. That's
What a
insane.
year.
And like we're talking about them selling off a chunk of their company back to like name escapes me. It used to be THQ Nordic. They sold off like a
Yeah.
chunk of that, like I guess their Western stuff off to
Yeah, like the
them,
Canada branch and
and
everything.
everyone's like questioning,
Yep.
oh, maybe they're like preparing to sell out to a larger company, but it's like at this point, why would they? Like they just seem to have like their
No, I think
shit
they just
smooth, and then maybe that's what they were just trying to do is consolidate a little bit so they can get the ball rolling and focus on this stuff. That's the hallmark of their
possible
company.
they had gotten too big and just decided to branch off part of their company because like they have too much stuff to work on.
Sure,
Like look at all this shit. Crazy.
that's wild. All
And
right,
it'd be one thing if this was like, like EA or Activision and it was like just a copy paste list of like new Call of Duty, some shooting game you never heard of,
yeah,
some action game you never heard of, this, that, this, that. It's like no, like these are all mostly pretty unique titles that we either haven't heard of
sure.
before or have like we know that they're backed up like Strangers of Paradise, sure, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing, but like you know what it is when you're going into it, and it's a DLC.
Hmm.
Like Live Alive there was demand for in the West because it was never brought over. Obviously Final Fantasy 14 is killing it. They're the game that sold out twice even though they were digital.
Sure.
Um
I mean, Live Alive could
the
technically be a new IP because it's first time coming to the West, but it's
coming to
also
the
coming
West,
2.5 HD. So,
Yep. Absolutely.
as Dio
Um
Chronicle, I'm sure that sounds like it's a new IP. Valkyrie Elysium, I'm pretty confident that's a new IP.
Valkyrie I think Valkyrie Elysium is an old IP being brought back for the first time,
Okay,
is what it was. I think it's like
um,
an old IP from like PlayStation Original or something that's
gotcha.
coming back.
I know there's like Valkyrie
Star Ocean hasn't
Profile.
been around.
Star Ocean has not been around for a long time. Harvestella, that's
Yep.
new. Um,
Brand new. Dragon Quest Treasures, obviously a. I can't call that like a Dragon Quest game because it seems like it's completely separated from the rest of the Dragon
sure,
Quest games
old
with its
IP, but
mechanics and its
new
stuff.
spinoff, completely new
Right.
direction.
Yeah.
Forspoken, new
Forspoken's a
IP.
brand new IP.
I mean,
Um.
this is a huge list. I mean,
Yeah. It's pretty meaty, that's for sure.
mhm.
I'm gonna be feeling it.
Yeah, I'm just looking
Yeah,
at
that's
like
so bad.
between what Nintendo's
Dark's like, oh,
releasing
you're
this
gonna
year
play
and
this.
this. Whew.
Dark's like, you're gonna play this game with me, and I'm like, no. There's already so many things I have to buy.
Yeah, no,
Like,
I'm
I'm
not
not gonna be
playing
able to
Fallout
buy anything else.
76.
Like,
Sorry.
no, I mean, like, 'cause he wants to play Vermintide, which I hear looks great, and I hear it's going to be great. But like, I cannot fit Vermintide in the rest of this stuff, plus other games for other companies coming out.
And
There's
like
no
between
way.
this and Nintendo, I'm set, man. And that's not like even talking about other third party stuff that I'm like
Oh,
I've got
dude,
pre-ordered and waiting to come.
when does Sea of Stars come out? Is that this year?
That is January as well, I
Oh, okay,
think.
cool. I mean, I guess still, but like,
And I've got that on physical pre-order too.
that and Forspoken going head to head in January. Jesus. And actually, if 6.2 is in August, then January is probably going to be the 6.3 patch for Final Fantasy too.
Right?
Jesus.
Loud. That's a lot.
Oh man. And hey, I paid for some Destiny seasons in there. Maybe I'll actually play that sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, well, I can't, maybe Daimyo will convince me to go play it, and that's why I'll end up there for like a week or two.
You know, I'm not gonna. I'm never gonna be like, hey man, you want to go play
No,
Destiny instead
I'd be
of Final
dragging
Fantasy?
you if Daimyo dragged me.
Oh, of course. That's how
how
that's gonna work. Yeah, that's how that dynamic
That's
always works.
the time that ever works.
All right. Well, let's move on here. I noticed this today. Was it yesterday? Last night I posted this on Twitter. One of my more successful Twitter posts so far. Yes.
Oh my god.
Wada literally has people out here smoking crack right now. This is so fucking crazy. So, Super Mario 64, new, sealed, and rare. This one's for the collectors. I may hand this off to Heritage Auctions to auction for me. It's like, dude, you're not in on it. You're not going to get that money for it.
No.
A similar one recently sold for $1.5 million USD. Note, I will be keeping this at my bank vault.
I can't with people. I just can't with these people. I'll be keeping it in my bank vault.
That's do you mean safety deposit box? Because that's you don't own a bank vault, my guy. Payment and pickup would happen there. Bet. So I didn't realize I found pictures of it today. It is sealed. I'm pretty sure it is sealed, but they just put it in this like vacuum sealed plastic bag too, and it just makes it so much funnier for some reason.
Oh boy, I am.
Oh my god.
I don't know.
I'm sorry, man, but I hate to break it to you. You're not part. You're not in the WADA scam. You're not in
You're
the
not in
boys
the
club.
club.
There, you're not
Yeah.
getting 1.5 million dollars for this, man. I'm
No,
sorry.
you know what would happen? You'd contact WADA. WADA would tell you that they'll give you 200 grand for it. They'd list it for 600 grand,
Right.
and then they'd buy it themselves, and then relist it for 750 until eventually someone bought it for
Exactly.
that 750.
200 is still too much for that.
I know, I agree. That's just how that would go.
Oh, I
They
know.
would
I
triple
know.
up on him, and then quadruple in the end because they would buy their own thing and be like, "Yeah, look, it's super rare."
I wouldn't
The
spend 50
Virginia
fucking dollars on
collection.
that game. Sealed.
Oh wait, hang on a second. I have a thing for them. Where's Wada? Hey Wada, look, these are the left and right guards for the Nintendo Switch Hyrule Joy-Cons. Just the guards,
Super rare.
but they're the Orlando version, the Orlando collection. There's only two. It's just
The
these two,
Orlando collection.
and one of them is already gone. Look at that. It's off camera
Holy
now.
shit.
There's only one left. If you want the matching pair, I know a guy. I'll give you his name. It's similar to my name. Don't worry about it. Yeah, you heard. Jump on the Orlando collection, the Orlando Switch Joy-Con Edge Guard
Absolutely.
collection.
You gotta have it.
It's the classic. Everyone's looking for him. Like this, like
He
it's
said
the
with zero
stupidest.
emotion. Everybody's looking for him. What? Oh shit.
Oh my God,
All right.
you see this stuff though. It's like the dumbest shit.
Oh, I
Like,
know. Oh, I know.
wild.
All right. Well, we'll talk about. I'd love to see where this goes. If we see more information about this, I will definitely we'll definitely be talking about it in the next podcast.
Yeah,
What else
for
do we
sure.
have here? So we have some upcoming game releases. I would just say this is going to be another good week to catch up on your backlog. We do have Garden Story coming out, Xbox Series X and S and Xbox One. Time on Frog Island, PS5
Sure.
and 4, Xbox Series X and S,
A
Xbox
classic.
One, Switch and PC. Oh, the COVID's catching up to me. Loop Mancer coming to PC, July 13th.
What
Escape
is
Academy.
Loopmancer?
I thought I swear I thought that was a Devolver Digital game. It wasn't. I don't even remember what the hell it was. I looked
No,
it up now.
Loop Hero was Devolver
Right.
Digital, wasn't it?
Yes. So that's why I was like,
What the
oh,
hell
so
was
Loop
Loopmancer?
and Mancer. This sounds like a Devolver Digital game, but it's not.
It does.
I looked it up earlier and I couldn't even tell you it's that unremarkable.
Fair.
Escape Academy, PS5 and PS4, Xbox Series X and S, Xbox One, and PC, July 14th. Eyes in the Dark, The Curious Case of One Victoria Bloom, coming to PC, July 14th. And probably the heaviest hitter in this whole list is Rune Factory 5, coming July 15th. That be it. So, like I said, this is a pretty good week to get caught up. I think I have Rune Factory 5 on the
Wait.
Switch, and it's still in plastic.
What are you talking about? Like, I'm sorry. Did you say Eyes in the Dark, The Curious Case of One Victoria Bloom, and then say that it's a week to catch up on our backlog when that gem is dropping on us next week? I'll have you know that I'm in the official Twitter community for EITDTCCOOVB, and we take that game extremely seriously, my friend. It's a cult classic.
Is it now?
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'll have to check it out.
My favorite part is when the case got curious.
Oh, that was a good time. So so like I said, that's it. It's a slim week for the old game releases.
Especially because, if I'm not mistaken, Live Alive is this month. So
Yeah.
if you want to play that game, get your backlog caught up first.
Yep.
That game looks like it's going to have some sticking power in terms of game time, right? Because you got like it's a Chrono Trigger, right? You're jumping all over different time periods. It looks like.
I hope it's like that, but I have a feeling it's more like the Romancing Saga, where it's like they release those
it takes
games. It's
place
like
in different
six
times?
different part. It's like six different game
Yeah.
stories in one, and they're all not that
Right,
great.
right.
I'm really worried it's going to be like that, but
It's kind
we'll
of
see.
like I've heard some people say that about Octopath. Once you get into Octopath, it sort of just feels like the opening section where you got all the different stories meshed that didn't need to happen the way that it happened, and because it creates a situation now where like even if I had been playing the game currently, which I haven't been, but even if I was, I don't remember what all 8 of their stories are at this point.
Sure.
Like what? Imagine having like 8 characters, like Final Fantasy VII, where you've got like 8 characters, and they all get introduced to you up front, and they all have a backstory up front, and you're supposed to care about them immediately instead of slowly like doing one character's thing at a time, like you did in like any other Final Fantasy game. Like that's wild.
Indeed.
They front load you with like 8 people, and they're like, all right, now you. And you expect me to care about the person's story when I can knock out townspeople? Oh, that's all I'm going to care about.
Exactly.
I don't remember why he's knocking out townspeople, but I know he can do it.
Yeah, you can do it. And that's all that really matters at that point.
Right.
Well, we have some slim pickings this week too for gaming history. I couldn't really find a whole lot, but we did find some big stuff. Like 14 years ago, Apple Incorporated launched the App Store for the iPhone and iPod Touch, kind of officially pushing them into the soiree of the gaming market. And yeah, it's been great gaming ever since. One that really stuck out though was Riviera: The Promised Land, coming out on the PSP 15 years ago. That is a phenomenal game. Also came out on the Game Boy Advance, and I was thoroughly impressed that they shoved that game onto a Game Boy Advance cartridge. It's a beast of a game, but it's really good. Highly recommend that game if you haven't played it. It's probably pretty easily accessible emulating it, but you're gonna probably pay a pretty penny for it if you want like the Game Boy Advance cartridge or the PSP game. And then Game & Watch Vermin came out 42 years ago, so that's when we started to see the Game & Watches hit the streets. That one came out in Japan 42 years ago, I should say. That's all I have for gaming history this week.
Really?
Yeah, I couldn't find much else
this week.
That's it. Usually have a good juicy list. I'm sorry.
I quit this podcast. I'm so disappointed in you.
I mean, I could
July 7. July 7 of 2000 was Final Fantasy 9.
That was last week.
That was 3 days ago.
Yeah, but I do it from like Sunday on, so.
Oh, okay.
But we could talk about that. Final Fantasy 9.
I thought it was always the previous week, not the next week. That's on me.
Maybe I should do it the previous week.
I didn't realize I didn't realize it was like the week coming up. I thought it was like this past week in history.
Well,
okay, that's on me then.
That's fine.
I rescind my quitting.
Let's see what I can find. So a small game.
The only reason I know that is because on my social media, all the Final Fantasy pages have been like, "Hey, it's Final Fantasy's birthday for 9."
Well, to be fair, it came out in Japan 22 years ago.
Yeah, where we both reside.
Only quickly download the Japanese flag and put it on my background. Let me see. So Donkey Kong came out in Japan 41 years ago, the arcade. SimCity 2000 came to the PlayStation 26 years ago. Now this is like last week.
Yeah.
Pokemon Go came out 6 years ago. Blades of Steel NHL came out in the Game Boy Color 23 years ago. Metal Slug, I feel like we talk about Metal Slug like every other goddamn podcast. Just because it came out on the Neo Geo CD instead of just the regular Neo Geo cartridge.
Imagine Metal Slug's got a marketing campaign where throughout history they've put out one of their games on a different week every week all year long. So like when we do segments like this, it's every week. It's like, oh yeah, Metal Gear Slug again.
Planting the seeds. Whatever happened to that Metal Slug Tactics game?
I have no idea.
That's phenomenal. Where the hell is it? That should be out by now.
It wasn't actually Metal Gear, was it?
Not Metal Gear, Metal Slug. It was Metal Slug Tactics.
Was it? Metal Slug Tactics Steam. Initial release date 2022. Is it out?
I don't see
I'm
it
on the Steam store. Hang on. Planned release date TBA. Oh, it's a shame.
Uh-oh. Methinks they hit
it's
a speed bump.
Wishlistable.
Yeah. Well, that doesn't fucking mean
anything. But yeah, no, they did seem like they were cruising full speed with that. We didn't get a date, though, when they showed it, did they? They just said, like, it was in progress or something?
Mm-mm.
I don't know. Weird. Launches in 2022, it says. Add Switch version launches this year, but yeah, no date.
Huh. Well, maybe it'll be ready for holiday. Who knows? I mean,
please look forward to it.
Game Boy Advance quality game. It can't take that long to develop, can it? I don't know.
I couldn't tell you. I mean, I know, like, I've been reading a lot of funny stories on game dev in the last couple weeks on Twitter, and I can tell you that sometimes the weirdest shit happens.
Sure.
Like, sometimes delays can be the dumbest things about like random companies being like, that looks like our logo on the background of like a billboard of a game or some dumb shit, or like just weird stuff, weird problems with voice actors or actresses. If they have like one voice actor that does like this one dude and he's not available for like 2 weeks because of something like an accident, like and ended up like in the hospital, all of a sudden they push the game. It could be like, it's wild, dude. You can
Sure.
hear some crazy stories. Making games is so messy.
Yep. You're not wrong. Any fans out there of the point and click adventures that Sierra Games used to make? Leisure Suit Larry and the Land of the Lounge Lizards, 35 years old, came out on DOS and Apple II in 1987.
Oh god,
I played the shit out of that game.
I always forget those are the same company that did like Space Quest.
Mm-hmm.
That's so
Absolutely.
funny. That was
Bandai.
like they did Space Quest and then they were like we have to channel the horny, so they put it in its own game.
Yeah. They did. Bandai was founded 72 years ago. That's wild.
Wow.
1950.
What were they doing? What were they doing then?
Kids' toys.
Okay, I was like, I know like Nintendo started as like a card company, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's
they.
funny.
I wouldn't be surprised if we got Transformers from them. Don't quote me on that. There was a
That
whole
sounds right.
documentary. Like Japanese toys were wild, dude. It was like the Wild West of toy making, man. Like people would just find like homemade toys and just like, we're gonna make this a line now. We're just gonna take it and make it a line. That was it.
Yeah.
Like all the Transformers and stuff, they were all like different toys from different toy sets. I think the Power Rangers were kind of like that too. Wild shit. It's on. It's a
Oh yeah.
toy documentary on Netflix. There's like multiple episodes of it. Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Dude, I'm looking now. I just typed in 1960s Bandai and I'm seeing like cars and bikes and
Hmm.
all these little electronic battery powered vehicles and stuff.
Yep.
That's wild. That was in the 60s. Wow.
The NES
Oh yeah,
Advantage
the 70s
controller.
is like
What's
it's
up?
all I went to 1970s and it suddenly became action figures.
Yeah, makes
Like
sense.
all action figures, yeah. Funny.
35 years ago, the NES Advantage controller came out. That's the big arcade lap controller with the Joy-Con. What are those things? The Japanese style ball controller thing.
Oh, I'm
Um,
sorry. Do you mean the Nintendo Privilege controller? No. I
Jesus.
had one of those as a kid. I remember that.
Yeah.
It was like the precursor to like the fight pads, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like a big
Almost like a
arcade.
Street Fighter style fight
Hmm.
pad.
Exactly.
Hmm. I have to imagine that's what like inspired fight pads or fight sticks or whatever they call them.
Oh, 100%. So that's all we have this week in gaming history and last week's gaming history. So that's what we got there.
I just thought maybe the show wasn't running long enough, so I figured we'd have to do another week.
No, that's fine.
You're
Um,
you're over there like there's only 3 things this week, and I'm like,
we're gonna talk about Diablo Immortal for 2 hours. That's all right.
oh man, it's one of those things like that happened with Diablo Immortal. It happened back when we talked about WADA like the first time. It happened, I think, when we talked about Roblox and their monetization garbage. Like we get in these things where it's like it's a real problem and it's bullshit, and we just sit there and go off about it.
And that's what we're here to do. I mean,
Yeah.
and hopefully this information spreads and people are aware um,
Right. Right.
about this kind of stuff. That's what, as much as I'm talking about games, there's a lot of consumer awareness that should be brought to light with gaming because it
Yeah,
spans
and
such a
like
huge population.
and with all things like if you want a thing to continue to be good, you got to take care of it, and that's the least we
Absolutely,
can do as
be
part of
vigilant.
the gaming community. Is yeah, exactly.
100%.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Well, that's this week's SuperScope podcast. Like again, you can find us on Game Dude Retro on Twitter and Instagram, Retro Game Dude at Twitch and TikTok. Where can we find you, and what are you doing this week?
You can find me in Orlando, and I'm frying in the sun. No, you can find me on Twitch at Phoenix underscore Aurora underscore gaming. Good luck figuring that one out. And I will be playing Mega Man 2 tomorrow for the St. Jude's charity thing that I'm still doing.
Nice.
I've decided I'm basically just going to keep doing that Mondays and Fridays until I beat all the games that I originally said I was going to play. So if it goes longer than July, then so be it.
I'm glad to see
Um,
it.
and I didn't do it today, but next Sunday I'll probably pick up where I left off before vacation and do Hollow Knights on Sunday
Nice.
during the day sometime or whatever. But yeah, so Mega Man 2 tomorrow. I hope I can knock that game out in one sitting. I think that I can, but it's a skill issue, so I guess we'll see.
Sure.
I know I can beat some of the bosses easily in Mega Man 2, but I don't know if I've ever beaten Mega Man 2. I don't know if I have. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
um,
You might be able to beat the
and then I
dragon
guess
at the end, but will you be able to beat the dragon with icy floors?
oh my god, yeah, right. Oh man, I'll be in your hands for that one. And then
I'll go easy on you. I know
I
where
don't
the
know.
heart pinch points are.
I don't know what would be Friday. I'd have to look at the list of what's left. I still have to do Celeste. I still have to do Mega Man X. And I still have to do Majora's Mask. I kind of want to say Mega Man X because I think that's another game I can do in one day.
Sure.
And then maybe like the week after I do like because Majora's Mask I know that game pretty well,
Mm-hmm.
but I also know Majora's Mask can be like a slog at times.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I guess we'll have to see. Maybe if I finish Hollow Knight, that'll be my Sunday game or something.
There you go. Play like the slow parts
Celeste I
offline or
can
something.
cruise through. Yeah, Celeste is a game I can cruise through as long as I'm only doing the main run through the story, which is probably
There
what
you go.
it'll be. So we'll figure it out.
Nice.
We'll have some fun with it.
Definitely. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. And if you're downloading and listening to this on Spotify, I do appreciate you. Make sure if you do find us on Spotify to follow. It helps us with the algorithm and everything, and we always appreciate it. We're in your hands to make this show successful. So I do thank you and everyone for tuning in. And we're gonna go head out. I'm gonna go play some video games. How about you?
Oh yeah, same.
All right. I think Claire might be playing Final Fantasy 14, so I'm going to switch over to that. And we'll see you guys next week then.